rule, right? Let's make federal rules to handle the anomalous. The unusual case is terrible case law. Precedent setting based on the unusual case is usually terrible precedent setting. And so many of these police reforms, by the way, including Safety Act 1.0 and 2.0, as far as I'm concerned, less obnoxious, but still detrimental to public safety. That's in the wake of George Floyd, too. So what? So you want to be a Starbucks warrior, a Starbucks a soldier, and a keyboard combatant, too? Let's have a national conversation. We have to do something. You just said it. That's exactly what everybody else says. What? I don't know.
Well,
to have people talk. Have people talk. Deadly police violence, contrary to the dominant narrative spun by AOC and other law enforcement critics, is statistically rare. According to the data compiled by Police Scorecard, a website built by a left-wing police critic, Memphis police have been involved in 25 killings between 2013 and 2021, a period in which Memphis police made some 288,000 arrests. A 2018 study of both deadly and non-deadly force found that over a 2-year period in which officers across 3 police departments fielded over 1 million calls for service, police made 114,000 arrests and used force of any kind in less than 1% of these arrests. So, is the response going to be proportional to the problem? No. Why? Because let's do something. Anything. Get all the political hacks together and have them put together some big omnibus police reform measure, like we had our political hacks at the state level do with the Safety Act. And that's going to make it better?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
right.
who's
Sometimes
in charge?
Government involvement, it makes it worse.
Who's in charge?
Yeah.
The defund the police, decarcerate the prisons crowd. That's who's in charge of major cities in this country. That's who's in the White House, apologist for that crowd. That's who's in control of the Senate. What good is going to come from that collaboration, listening tour, Blue Ribbon Commission? I mean, can people get off the hamster wheel for just 5 seconds? Take a breath and look around? I don't want to know anything. Just do something. Make me feel good about myself. I said do something, and then they did something. I'm part of the reform. Oh, good for you. In my best Christian Bale. Tom in Oswego, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I hear this problem over and over, and we always seem to focus on the police reform, which is fine. If it's needed, let's reform it. Let's make it as good as we can get it. But we never seem to talk about the people who are being stopped and their behavior that leads up to some of these incidents. Maybe our leaders should talk about when you get pulled over by a police officer, say yes, sir, no, sir. I've been pulled over. My kids have been pulled over. Now, of course, I'm white, so that I guess is a problem. But as long as you're respectful to the officer, I don't see a lot of this stuff happening.
We still don't know why he was even pulled over. We still don't know why he was yanked out of his car, because that's what we see at the beginning of the body cam footage is him just getting yanked out.
He's making a general statement, Tom, you're talking specifically about Tyree Nichols, which is anybody disagreeing that the police acted unlawfully and egregiously? No. But I want to be more outraged. How about we be more room temperature and talking about things soberly so we don't further inflame the passions and advance the ignorance? Yeah, in point of fact, Tyree Nichols actually was saying yes, sir, and no, sir, when he was on the ground, and he was scared because the police escalated the situation. Sure. They were wrong from the very beginning, which is why I said yesterday that the guy who deployed the taser shouldn't have deployed the taser. He was wrong. You disagree.
Oh, I disagree. I'm glad he tased him rather than shot him, because other people have done that.
Those aren't the choices.
Yeah, there is a choice, Dan. You have a gun and you have a taser.
Those are not the choice. Those are not the legitimate choices. So what you're saying, using your logic, if you want to follow your logic, if you try following your own logic, is because he could have done one thing unlawfully. It was better he did something that was less lethal unlawfully. How about doing nothing unlawfully? Have you considered that?
Well, I don't know why they pulled him over. If he blew off a stop sign,
It
if he had a tail light,
didn't matter why they pulled him over
So,
at that
you
moment.
can't
There was
run
no,
from- I-
there was no
you tell your
legitimacy.
children. I
There
tell
was
my
no
children, don't run
legitimacy
from
in
police.
deploying the taser.
You
That's
don't
the
run-
point.
Should he have run away? You don't run away. That made it worse.
This is an impossible conversation.
It's not
with you.
impossible. You're going to
Coming
run away
up
from cops?
No,
not
I'm
gonna
not.
chase
No,
you?
no, I'm not going to run away with cops. No, I'm not going to resist arrest. Does that necessarily logically follow that deploying the taser in the circumstance that we saw in that video was a proper act? No, it does not. No, it does not.
that's why he doesn't
No,
have a
it
job
does
today.
not. Exactly, which
But
is
he's
what
not
I
gonna
said
be charged
yesterday.
with murder.
My brain. All right, I need to take a mental health break. 5:38. We'll talk about another law enforcement matter, and that was the FBI raid on Mark Houck's house and his prosecution for an alleged push outside of an abortion mill. The jury rendered a verdict yesterday. 5:38.
And after more than 3 years, it's over. We'll explain. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
2 above with a wind chill of -7 at 5:32. 3 Memphis EMTs are being fired over the death of Tyree Nichols. The Memphis Fire Department said the first responders violated multiple department policies when they were at the scene earlier this month. The U.S. will not be sending any F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine in the near future. President Biden was asked that question after returning to the White House Monday and responded, no. He did not elaborate or say the U.S. may in the future. Former Defense Secretary Robert Gates says people who should know why the government is supporting Ukraine and why it's necessary.
This is basically the responsibility of the president to educate people about why this is necessary. Why must we confront Putin in Ukraine?
The Ukrainian president recently said the country needs more weapons like fighter jets. The FAA making changes in hopes that its computer system won't go down again. The FAA system went out on January 11, disrupting thousands of flights in the U.S. The agency's acting administrator wrote in a letter to lawmakers that it fixed a problem to stop a corrupt file damaging a backup database. 2 weeks after shooters brazenly killed a teen mother, her 10-month-old baby, and 4 other members of her family, the suspects remain at large, and authorities have no motive for the attack in Central California's farm country. The first of 3 mass killings in California this month, this one largely ignored. 10 people were injured during a drive-by shooting in Central Florida. Lakeland police said during a news conference yesterday that 2 of the victims are clinging to life, while the wounds of the other 8 victims were not considered life-threatening. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox is dropping charges against R. Kelly. Fox's office charged that singer with aggravated criminal sexual assault and aggravated criminal sexual abuse charges involving 4 victims in 2019.
Mr. Kelly is potentially looking at the possibility of never walking out of prison again for the crimes that he has committed.
The R&B star was sentenced to 30 years behind bars last June in federal court. The DuPage County Board will not seek to censure County Sheriff James Mendrick over comments that he would not enforce Governor Pritzker's new assault weapons ban. Meantime, McHenry County's challenge to the assault weapons ban is being moved to federal court at the request of Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul. No foul play suspected after the body of an Illinois State University student from Libertyville was found last week in Normal. Matthew Listman's body was discovered Friday near a creek in the 900 block of North Main. Preliminary results of an autopsy show the 21-year-old died of drowning and the setting in of cold exposure. Listman was a graduate of Libertyville High School. Bulls tip off a 4-game homestand with a game against the LA Clippers tonight. College hoops fighting Illini back in the top 25. They face off against Nebraska tonight. Northwestern takes on Iowa at Carver Hawkeye, and DePaul hosts number 23 UConn. The news, a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where you can join today. at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's time to tee it up once again for the Tinley Park Golf Show from February 3rd to February 5th at the Tinley Park Convention Center. Come out for a driving range demo area with manufacturer representatives from Callaway, Wilson, Tour Edge, Cleveland, Cobra, and Mizuno. After browsing aisles of newly released equipment and apparel from the top retailers of the Chicago area, compete in skill challenges and enjoy a live telecast of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am at the famous Local 1 Bar and Lounge. The 2023 Golf Show is honored to bring back the Western Golf Association and BMW Championship as this year's sponsors. Tickets are just $10 for Friday's show and $15 each for Saturday and Sunday. Get them now at eventbrite.com. Come take a swing and experience the best golf show in Chicagoland. The Tinley Park Golf Show from February 3rd to February 5th at the Tinley Park Convention Center.
And don't forget to stop by Local 1 for the famous All-American Burger, the best burger in Chicago.
Scott Tucker Solutions has a question for you. Is your retirement inflation-proofed? Here's what we mean. In retirement, chances are you're on a fixed income with variable expenses. So how do you not run out of money when the cost of just about everything continues to go up? You inflation-proof it. Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions can show you strategies to help combat inflation so it doesn't outpace your retirement income. Call us today at 847-474-3888 to learn more. Inflation could take a huge chunk out of your retirement savings, but it doesn't have to. With some simple planning, inflation can go from being a major disruption to a minor annoyance. Call Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions now to start inflation-proofing your retirement today. 847-474-3888. That's 847-474-3888. Investing involves risk. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
With each breath, allergens, germs, and viruses get trapped in your nose. Now there's a simple, easy, and effective way to clean your nose and protect your health. It's called Navage. Navage, available at Navage.com.
5:39. Let's get an update on the roads now. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Stevenson inbound. You're already on the brakes. Ashland to the Dan Ryan. 22 minutes in, 3:55 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Bishop Ford jamming up 103rd into the Dan Ryan merge. Prospect Heights, an accident. Wolf and Old Willow. St. Charles, a broken water main this morning at Route 25. Southbound at Route 64, delaying traffic. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunny and frigid. Extreme cold can be dangerous today. And a high of 13. 2 above at O'Hare. 7 above at the lakefront. In Aurora, it's minus 10 with a wind chill of minus 22. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Back in October, you'll recall, we brought you the story with some help from Thomas More Society attorney Peter Breen of Mark Hoke, who is a pro-life activist in rural Pennsylvania, who was the subject of a allegation that he pushed a guy outside an abortion mill. Pushed him. One of these Planned Parenthood ghouls. Local prosecutors declined to charge him. Apparently they didn't think there was evidence to support the case. The feds investigated. Mark Hoke, through his attorney, offered to surrender himself to the feds if they were going to take him into custody. That wasn't good enough. No, had to scramble. Garland and Ray and the boys had to scramble a SEAL Team 6 style raid on Mark Hoke's house and take him into custody in front of his family, his wife and kids.
Yeah, send a message. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ryan Marie Hoke, along with Peter Breen, who I just mentioned, they appeared on Tucker Carlson shortly after this raid occurred.
It had to have been 20, 25, 30. I mean, we have a large property. My entire front yard, you could barely see it. It was covered with at least 15 big trucks and cars. And there were, like I said, 20, 25, 30 men, women, completely in jackets with shields and helmets and guns, and they were behind cars. It was, something I never would expect to see on my front lawn. It was crazy.
Yeah, maybe in China or Venezuela.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We talked to Kevin Brock about this, former assistant director of counterintel for the FBI, counterterrorism for the FBI, I should say. And he said there was no need to do this. Absolutely no need. And actually, you make the situation more dangerous for all parties involved when you do a raid on somebody's home like that because they're inside.
Right.
As opposed to, as opposed to accepting the offer for him to come into HQ, and Peter Breen said as much on Tucker.
This is reckless and outrageous. It put the Houck family in unnecessary danger. And it was the sort of thing that when we've offered to bring him in, didn't get a response. And not just, even if you're going to arrest a regular person, you just send a couple agents, they'd knock on the door, not dragging the head of the family out, violating the sanctity of the home, pointing guns at them. This was outrageous and uncalled for.
I don't know how to describe the FBI these days. I don't want to go over the top here, overheated rhetoric, but...
Well, what they did was over the top.
Well, it was, and the thuggery, and just the awful judgment. You want to talk about wolf packs. A pro-life activist, there's no criminal record, there's no history of violence. His attorney communicated to the Bureau that he was willing to bring his client in. And instead, as you heard from Mrs. Hoke, 25, 30 agents.
It's ridiculous.
Roll up, surround the house, guns drawn.
Well, because we all know they have better things to do, like real crimes.
In front of her kids, right, like go pick up documents from Biden's compound. This is Hoke in terms of just the experience that her family suffered that day.
It's hard to tell. The older ones, we can talk, we can cry. We've had some counseling. We have more counseling to do. And the little ones, they're scared. They're scared. There's a lot of crying and a lot of unrestful sleep. A lot of kids in our bed at night and in the morning.
Well, I hope every one of those agents who showed up at your home with automatic weapons is watching this and feeling deep shame. I really do.
I hope the shame has been compounded by the jury verdict yesterday. Mark Hoke was acquitted on both charges.
Good.
Not guilty, both charges in relation to this alleged altercation with a abortion mill volunteer. Oh, this is Merrick Garland, and the FBI will tell you, well, this is just, we're just enforcing federal law. That's what we do. It's like Chuck Todd talking about characterizing parents that go to school board meetings as would-be terrorists. Hey, somebody somewhere issued a death threat to somebody, so the FBI is just doing its job. Right. What that jury did yesterday is protect other Americans from the FBI when it's the FBI's responsibility to protect Americans, isn't it? Now Americans have to be protected from federal law enforcement.
Could he sue them or for
he absolutely should.
Or anything?
He absolutely can, and he absolutely should.
Wrongful imprisonment. Something.
I hope there is a civil lawsuit, and I hope he and his family get a lot of money, and the Thomas More Society gets a lot of money to continue their work representing people like Mark Hoke.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Breen saying, we took on Goliath, the full might of the United States government, and won. The jury saw through and rejected the prosecution's discriminatory case, which was harassment from day one. It's a win for Mark and the entire pro-life movement. The Biden Department of Justice's intimidation against pro-life people and people of faith has been put in its place. Yeah, although I doubt they'll be chastened. Oh, and by the way, since the FBI is, on top of it, death threats, violations of federal law, like firebombing churches and vandalizing pregnancy care centers, right?
Has anybody been arrested in those? They are offering a reward, right? $25,000.
Catholic, who's they? Not the government. Individual organizations, and they're hiring their own investigators because of the FBI's lack of interest in these cases. Catholic Vote. Since May, Catholic Vote has tracked over 200 acts of hate and violence against Catholic Americans and their pro-life allies, from obscene disruptions at Mass to firebombings of women's clinics. And the Justice Department has arrested exactly no one. Can't crack those cases.
They arrest him in a blaze of glory in front of his kids. Surprised I didn't bring a tank. Like they did for Roger Stone.
You had the conversation with Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan trying to educate that yapping terrier who moderates Meet the Press, Chuck Todd, about the FBI's meddling in elections to 2016. It's just the agency, every time you turn around, behaves in a disgraceful, anti-American, un-American, maybe is a better way, un-American way. Un-American. Because they're advancing the interests of some Americans at the expense of others, rather than being a force for the provision of the equal treatment under the law, which is all Catholic Vote is asking for. Why no interest? What are the resources that have been devoted? 200 incidents against churches and pregnancy care centers? Violence. Nothing.
Never even made the A block in the news.
Well, of course.
One did. I can't.
Of course it's not going to make the nightly news, but the FBI shouldn't be determining resource allocation based on what the D.C. press corps chooses to cover or not cover. Vince St. Charles, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, guys. Wasn't Garland supposed to be the moderate? Is there anything that says he's a moderate? Anything? I want him to go to the other side. Anything?
That's how they sold him when he was up for Supreme Court. He was
sold him is the right description. You know how Merrick Garland isn't a moderate because the Obamas tried to sell him as a moderate. Of course they're going to sell him as a moderate. Are they going to sell him as a radical?
Not. Right.
Thanks for the call, Vince. How was Obama sold, by the way?
Oh, he was a moderate.
He was the packaging of Obama was good enough to buffalo George Will and Charles Krauthammer, wasn't it, in 2008?
Yeah.
Everybody's a moderate until they get power. Marty in Naperville.
Yeah, good morning. Not on as large scale as that, but I'm a small business owner. The government came after me to do a simple sales tax audit, which turned into a nightmare. First, they wanted to come to my offices to go through my files. The accountant said, no, you tell us what we want. We'll meet at our office. 2 women got there, and all these women did was talk about how they hated men because they were going through divorces. Bottom line, I provided everything I needed to provide. I was wrong about everything. They kept talking about this $100,000. They called my customers, sent them letters saying, don't send money to my company, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, at the end, I was ahead a few $1,000s, and they said, oh, sorry, the money will be credited to you in 12 to 14 weeks. So it's not only with the FBI, it's with every government. It's bringing a blowtorch to a peace line. It's unbelievable. So
yeah, thanks for the call, Marty. Of course, it's most dangerous when it's agencies like the IRS and the FBI that can deprive you of your freedom in addition to your property. Which is not to discount the harassment that is attendant to the work of other alphabet soup agencies as well, but I'm just saying, when you're talking about federal law enforcement in particular. Tom in Deer Park.
Oh, good morning, Dan and Amy. Dan, I know you keep your ear to the ground. Have you heard anything from Cardinal Cupich or the other auxiliary bishops in the Chicago Archdiocese or the U.S. Conference of Bishops on this particular issue in case? We get a lot of pronouncements from them on various new forms of what they call social Catholic teaching, but I haven't heard anything from the aforementioned on this. Have you?
Thanks for the call, Tom. I have not. Joe Biden is a related story yesterday at his brief press avail on speaking of the Catholic Conference of Bishops.
Catholic bishops are demanding that federal tax dollars not fund abortion. No, they are not all doing that. Nor is the Pope doing that.
What did he say?
The Catholic bishops are calling on you to not use federal dollars to fund abortion, and Mr. 10% said, no, they are not. Not all the bishops are doing that. The Pope's not doing it. So just FYI, according to dutiful Catholic Joe Biden, the Pope is no longer pro-life. Thought I'd give everybody the heads up.
Thank you.
As opposed to, as apparently are many of the Catholic bishops. Now, a lot of them are cowards. A lot of them won't address these issues. But the Pope Francis could not be more clear on the life issue. And if you're pro-life, then by definition, you're not supportive of federal tax dollars or state tax dollars or any dollars being used to terminate life. But Joe Biden's a good Catholic. He's a Catholic in good standing, so he can just say things that aren't true. Doesn't matter. And will any of the... Will Cardinal Cupich or the conference, will they correct Mr. 10%? No, they will not. And thus the church's ongoing decline. Marvin, Burlington, Wisconsin.
Yeah, good morning. It's minus 12 out here, and we're enjoying it.
Yeah, sure.
It's not that bad.
No,
it's a dry cold.
No, it's really. I thought I would hate it more, but it's all right. We're going to survive.
Yeah, I was just thinking that this FBI behavior is somewhat. It's all been retarded it dates back to the Clintons with Janet Reno, and the show of force that they had to do down there and with the Branch Davidians down there in Waco. They could have had the guy at the laundromat 2 days before, but no, they got to put armored personnel vehicles on the scene and start the place on fire. I sort of think a lot of this stuff dates back to them, and they're morphing things into political entities of the state and using them as such. And then it carried on with Obama and all the other people of that political ideology. And it's just a continuation of that. The ATF and all these organizations that keep sprouting up for this disaster or that perceived threat, and it's just a continuation of them using their so-called levers of power to intimidate the rest of the country, and it's always on the same side, always the same side.
Thanks for the call, Marvin. Joe, Arlington Heights.
Good morning. I think it's pretty apparent, based upon what happened in the trial, that any reasonable person could conclude this was a show of force and an attempt to intimidate pro-life. It's my understanding that the jury was deadlocked initially, and then when the judge had them take the weekend off and return, they had to replace one juror. It's not described why. And when the alternate was sat, they came to their decision in 1 hour.
Mm-hmm. So you had one pro-board holdout, right?
Right. But number two, My understanding is that one of the witnesses for the abortion center had to admit when testifying that the individual who was at the heart of this, the escort, had been suspended for violating their rules about interacting with the pro-life counselors. The FBI knew it. The FBI knew it. They knew he had been suspended for being too aggressive, and it had happened more than once, and that was part of the defense claim, and they did it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They knew they were going to lose.
Thanks for the call, Joe. Well, and Mark Hoke said this publicly. Said I wasn't initiating any physical confrontation. This escort was getting in my adolescent son's face, and so I stepped in and I said, "You don't talk to my son."
He was being a dad, and a good one at it. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I am shocked. More and more locked down to where the late great Angelo Codevilla was before his passing, which is the FBI needs to be completely reconstituted from the ground up. This is not just a culture of corruption at the top, or you can't just say it's a culture of corruption at the top. It's just the supervisory level. Well, guess what? A fish rots from the head down. And since we don't seem to want to do anything about the supervisory level, then I hope Jim Jordan and House Republicans pull together the requisite evidence to make a strong case for exactly that reconstitution I'm describing. Tim in Woodstock.
Hi, good morning, Dan and Amy. It seems to me like the full weight of the FBI was brought down on a situation that could only be described as an unsportsmanlike conduct call, and that would be, let's say, between two football players on an equal plane. It's not even an unsportsmanlike conduct call to be defending your kid against this goon. It had nothing to do with the freedom of access at a clinical entrance law. This was simply sending a message to people who stand up to the state. It was sending a message, just like they did with the school board, with the parents at the school board meetings.
Thanks for the call, Tim. You know my rule. I don't like sports metaphors for politics unless I use them.
Right, yes.
But I like the comparison, right? Prayer warriors outside of peaceful prayer warriors by extension, outside of an abortion clinic, threat to our democracy. Parents challenging a school board on curriculum or COVID policy, threat to our democracy. FBI, protector of our democracy?
Threat to our democracy.
I don't think so. I think we've got this, and the FBI's got it 180 degrees wrong.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, residents of Woodlawn none too happy about the prospect of a migrant center in their neighborhood. 6:06.
And some sad news this morning. Cindy Williams from Laverne and Shirley, dead at the age of 75. Now, with more of that, and also local news, here is Mike Scott.
Cook County is dropping charges against R. Kelly. The DuPage County Sheriff avoids possible censure. And an ex-suburban school worker accused of stealing chicken wings. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
2 more police officers could be in trouble in Memphis. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Both are off the job and under investigation, in addition to the 5 now ex-cops charged with murder in the beating of Tyree Nichols, who died 3 days later.
Officer Preston Hemphill and another unnamed officer were relieved of their duties when the investigation into Nichols' death started weeks ago. Hemphill was one of 3 officers on scene when Nichols was initially pulled over. He was shown pulling Nichols out of his car and can be heard saying, "I hope they stomp his expletive," in that horrifying body cam footage.
Fox's Jackie Ibanez. The Memphis Fire Department has let 3 EMTs go for violating policies, not responding properly to the Nichols beating. Police in Lakeland, Florida are still searching for a car and the gunman inside the morning after a drive-by shooting that left 10 people injured, 2 critically.
I was hoping it was firecrackers, but when I didn't see any smoke, and then you hear everybody, I've been hit, it was kind of just so surreal and scary.
It's now up to 95 people dead in Pakistan after the suicide bombing at a mosque in Peshawar full of police officers.
This morning, signs outside ask for blood donation
accommodations for the injured, of whom there are many. More than 300 were worshipping inside the mosque when the bomb went off. The fact that this could happen in such a fortified area has locals greatly concerned. If the government departments don't have security, this man asks, what safety can they provide us?
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Nearly 3 years after COVID was declared a pandemic, the Biden administration is planning to end 2 COVID emergency declarations by May 11th. It's a slip-sliding morning in parts of the South. FlightAware reports nearly 1,000 flights are canceled, most of them to and from Dallas and Austin, Texas, because of
a big issue with ice. Not only are we concerned about travel across the Lone Star State and also parts of Arkansas and Tennessee, but power outages, tree limbs are going to come down.
Fox weather meteorologist Britta Merwin. America's listening to Fox News.
Skies are clear, frosty this morning. 2 above with a wind chill of -7 at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx is dropping charges against R. Kelly. Fox's office charged that singer with aggravated criminal sexual assault and aggravated criminal sexual abuse charges involving 4 victims in 2019.
These women came forward believing that they would be heard. As a survivor, I know that the courage that it took for them to come forward.
The former R&B singer was sentenced to 30 years behind bars last June. The DuPage County Board will not seek to censure County Sheriff James Mendrick over comments that he would not enforce Governor Pritzker's new assault weapons ban. Meantime, McHenry County's challenge to Illinois' assault weapons ban is being moved to federal court. Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul has filed a counter brief challenging a judge's decision that ruled the pretrial release portion of the Safety Act is unconstitutional. In that brief, Raoul argues that abolishing cash bail does not violate the state constitution.
The evidence is such, or the law is such, that I would have to concede unconstitutionality. Would have to do so. I don't believe that's the case here, and so we're going to vigorously defend the lawsuits.
Former GOP Attorney General candidate Thomas DeVore says it's his opinion the law violates the separation of powers principle. State's attorneys who filed the suit have until February 17 to respond to Raoul's brief. Hundreds gathered downtown Chicago last night calling for swift police reforms over the death of Tyre Nichols in Memphis. Concession, food, and beverage workers at the United Center are expected to vote on whether to strike. Food service provider Levy and the union are currently negotiating. A food service director is being accused of stealing $1.5 million of chicken wings from a Chicago area school district. Vera Liddell is accused of ordering more than 11,000 cases of wings. The theft was discovered during a mid-year audit when the district realized it was $300,000 over food budget. She's currently jailed on $150,000 bond. Bulls take on the LA Clippers tonight. College hoops Fighting Illini take on Nebraska tonight after moving back into the top 25 coaches poll. Northwestern will try to win their 4th in a row when they visit Iowa. The News is a service of Dan and Amy 24/7. You can now enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock all day, every day. Listen now, danandamy247.com. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
The sitting president of the United States is an asset of the Communist Chinese Party, of oligarchs in Ukraine. By the way, they're going to get more money because I saw Zelensky on TV with his T-shirt on with that emblem that looks like Transformers. He's asking for more money. Vladimir Putin, $1.5 million. And in the meantime, where's the accounting for all that money? Some 2-bit Democrat senator says there's a ledger.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
People of the world, I am Chef Jose Andres, and I'm here with an important message. I'm speaking to you from downtown Kherson. As tonight gets dark, people are going to go to their homes without electricity, without water, and very often without much food to eat. This winter is going to be brutal, not only for the people of Kherson, but for many, many Ukrainians all across Ukraine, but especially in the places that they've been recently liberated near the front lines. The people of Ukraine right now are fighting for freedom. We're here with a very simple ask. World Central Kitchen will be able to keep doing the work we've been doing over the last 8-9 months with your support, with your help together. I know we will not leave the people of Ukraine alone.
Inflation is nothing more than a legal form of theft, because with every new round of money printing, the value of your 401k or IRA is decreased through the dilution of the money supply. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and while you still can, I highly recommend you consider physical gold for your retirement account. Why? Because gold provides real wealth preservation that can withstand anything. Even better, with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group, you pay no penalties or taxes when you transfer your current retirement funds. To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898. And my friends from Birch Gold Group will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold is the only gold IRA company I trust, so text PROTECT to 989898 to request your free info kit on gold IRAs right now.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm in the medical field, and I think when you start out these things, everything from the advertisement sounds so good that you're psyched up for it to work. It's working. Anyway, I'm happy.
Balance of Nature has made a big difference. It's just one of the greatest products, and it's just so simple, and it works.
Balance of Nature is a fantastic product. You could tell it's real. You could taste it. And it gives you really good energy, and it's just right up there with rent, electric cable, like things that you have to have. I'm not cutting Balance of Nature. No, I love it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads now. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. It is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Subscribe free at 560theanswer.com/podcast. In Aurora this morning, Eola Road, north and southbound between Montgomery and Ogden, completely shut down after a bad accident and a recovery of a vehicle that rolled into a pond right at the intersection of Eola and Autumn Grove Road. Again, that car is in the pond. The person has been recovered from inside that vehicle, rushed to a nearby hospital in critical condition. Outbound Ike, the other major trouble spot this morning. Bad accident, left lane blocked outbound between North and York Road. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Mostly sunny, frigid day. High today only 13. It'll be clear and frigid tonight with a low at 4. Sun followed by clouds tomorrow, a high at 28. Sunshine, not as cold on Thursday, high Thursday 31. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Now 1 above at O'Hare. It is 6 above along Chicago's lakefront, minus 10 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. About 100 or so buses over the last several months have delivered about 5,000 migrants to Chicago.
Yep.
Sanctuary city. In a sanctuary county, in a sanctuary state. And Mayor Triplethreat's big idea to accommodate at least some of those migrants who've arrived is to use a shuttered school in the Woodlawn neighborhood, formerly Wadsworth Elementary and later University of Chicago Charter School, to house the migrants.
Didn't you and Ted Dabrowski suggest that or say that that might happen a few months back?
Use schools that are
Right.
closed or barely filled, 10% occupied, like so many of these CPS schools. By the way,
repurpose them.
By the way, moratorium on closing schools until 2025. Most of the mayoral candidates, not named Vallis or Wilson, support continuing the moratorium, even though nobody's there.
It's such,
of course,
it's such theater, and people don't realize. I carry around those numbers from Wire Points when we play schools that have really no team. They don't even have a freshman team or a JV team. They barely have a varsity team. And I'll tell people, well, this is why there's 218 kids at the school. So
Right,
what
for a
kind of
school
talent
that-
are you going to get? That's a school that can hold 2,000.
Right.
And we're keeping the lights on. You talk about environmentalists, they should be up in arms. They're like, we're wasting energy keeping these schools, the lights on where nobody's home.
Well, there was a community meeting about the migrant shelter at this shuttered school in the Woodlawn neighborhood. And, Woodlawn is one of the more violent neighborhoods in the city. It's definitely top 15 in terms of street violence. And it's a majority minority neighborhood, majority black neighborhood. And this was some of the reactions from Woodlawn residents to the city per their proposal.
You're helping other countries. Why don't you help the people that need it here?
What's going to happen with our homeless? Where's the plan for them?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 646-36DA, turnkey.pro text line. Are you sympathetic to Woodlawn residents?
I mean, we talked about this before, too, because this has been going on, and the residents kept saying, no, she can't do this. And at the she's doing it. It's not if, it's when. So they're coming, and now they're going to be here. And I understand, they want some of the state funds because Pritzker just gave Lightfoot $20 million to help those, asylum seekers.
To set up these shelters.
Right. But it just sounds a little racist sometimes, the things that they were saying. Like, we don't want that in our community. I mean, can you imagine if it was reversed and, it was a white community and we had, these asylum seekers coming and we said, no, we don't want them in our community because we have homeless too in the white communities. We sure do. So I don't.
Are you sympathetic to their NIMBY argument and their help our people first? Remember, this is in a city that has guaranteed income programs with wealth transfer, giving people money for being below the poverty level and winning the lottery to be in the pilot program that Tony Preckwinkle wants to scale countywide.
$500 a month.
I mean, this is the leadership that you support. Woodlawn, not MAGA country. So, did I hear any outcry from Woodlawn residents vis-a-vis their alderman or in the direction of the fifth floor when they went sanctuary city? Now, this predates Lightfoot, but of course she fully embraces it. So again, to me, you say, well, it's terrible. Yeah, those Woodlawn residents are right. Are they? I don't know.
Willie Wilson is, for the Woodlawn residents, helping them first before helping others.
Yeah, I understand what his position is. I'm talking about the residents themselves. I'm talking about connecting positions you take and people you support to consequences visited upon you by the people you support implementing the positions you say you support. I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of sympathy for Woodlawn residents any more than I would if they put a wind farm on the lakefront in Winnetka. All this, it's terrible, or it's a great idea, it's a great idea. We're going to do it in your neighborhood. Not a good idea. I mean, it's classic NIMBY, but it's bigger than that, too. It's just the sort of, I don't know, blind adherence / complacent going along and then all of a sudden your number gets called and it sucks. Your number gets called for the guaranteed income program. Great. Your number gets called for the latest special deal, waiver, cut in, cut out. Great. Your number gets called for something you don't like. Oh, what about this? And what about that? And this is unfair to us. Too bad, so sad.
Got a text message. Dan and Amy, we have 250 Venezuelan men at the YMCA for months now in West Rogers Park. We're not complaining.
Yeah.
Okay. Another text message. It doesn't make sense to place people that are already in a precarious situation into a severely under-resourced community.
Well, under-resourced community, they're going to have, with respect to this abandoned school where they're going to house migrants, the talk from the 5th floor is we're going to have everything set up there. There's going to be access to city services, access to state services. Great.
They're going to have showers. They're going to have English lessons. They're going to help them the job placement, and they're going to turn the rooms into little apartments. So
we'll see. We'll see how well that goes. We'll see if it's going about as well as it's going for Eric Adams in New York City, where migrants who are staying at a 3-star hotel on West 57th don't want to go to the new site that he set up in Brooklyn.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, because the new sites, they say, lacks good showers and heat. So they set up the migrants did a little tent city outside the Watson Hotel on West 57th, and they're not so keen to go over to the Eric Adams' new mega site. How about that? Too bad, so sad. The
well, I don't
what I would like to hear
Little Village. They should go to Little Village because they're Hispanic.
Yeah, right. Or she should bus them out to the suburbs, or she should adopt what Karen Bass is doing in L.A. and mandate that hotels with unoccupied rooms house homeless, house migrants, both. Either, I don't care, and the city will pay them whatever rate the city decides. That's fine with me, too. You know what I want to hear from somebody, anybody, whether it's a Woodlawn resident or a suburban mayor, neighborhood YMCA. If you don't like it, I'd like to hear a little repentance, a little... Oh, I see what they were saying now. Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't think this through. Oh, yeah, I regret taking the positions that I took, supporting the people that I've supported. I'd just like to hear a little bit of that. You never hear it. And I'm sorry, I'm not willing to care, much less help, until I hear something like that. So... what's my posture? Maximum punishment. And you say punishment, or I say punishment, and it seems like, well, that's unfeeling. Punish people. I'm just calling it punishment. What it actually is maximum implementation of the ideas that you say you support by the people that you supported. That's all it is. If some people, I would call it punishment. Apparently, some Woodlawn residents think it's punishment. Maybe you call it Xanadu. You call it whatever you want. Maximum implementation of the ideas you supported, the policies you waved the flag for, by the people you voted for. What's wrong with that? Don't you want that from your political leaders? Doing what they said they would do? Well, here it is.
Another text message for the safety of the immigrants. I don't think it's safe for them to be in a high-crime neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
And
well, it is a high crime neighborhood.
It is a high, yes.
And so, is it fair or safe for law-abiding families to be in a high crime neighborhood and spin the wheel and pick one? Oh, by the way, the Sun Times, the NPR Times, nay AFL-CIO Times, they have this quick down and dirty survey with 24 questions to all the mayoral aspirants, just putting them in the yes, no, other category based on their responses to things like Would you reallocate resources from policing and invest in so-called root issues of violence such as housing, mental health, segregation, and poverty? Mr. Safety Act, Cam Buckner is a yes on that.
Of course. He's too afraid to come on this show.
Moratorium. Do you support closing severely under-enrolled schools once the moratorium expires? Do you support closing severely under-enrolled schools once the moratorium expires? No.
From
Mr. Safety Act, Cam Buckner, and Mr. CTU, Brandon Johnson. No, don't close them. Lightfoot and Garcia trying to middle the issue, but they're basically in the same camp. And more money, right? More money for all this stuff. For example, now I'm not just talking about Brandon Johnson's 3.5% city income tax for people who make more than $100,000. Good, absolutely, all for it.
Surprised you even changed your vote to him. If we're gonna watch it burn, let's watch it burn our money too. Come on.
Well, you may get Lori Lightfoot to come around on that. Would you support increasing funding to address homelessness by raising the real estate transfer tax on properties valued at more than $1 million? Yes, Brandon Johnson, Cam Buckner again. Sure, of course, absolutely, do it.
Because their house isn't worth that much, so yeah, sure.
Home sales in Chicago, 12-year low. Maximum implementation of the ideas and policies that you supported by the people you voted for. What is wrong with that? Chris in Barrington, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I think this is priceless. This is exactly what should happen. You know, they voted for Larry Lightfoot. Everybody wanted Sanctuary City. They got it, and they thought it was awesome. They were so proud. They boasted everybody, Chicago to the Sanctuary City. Now it's coming home to roost, and they get what they vote for. And I hope Larry Lightfoot gets 4 more years. Let's go.
Thanks for the call, Chris. Mike, Littleton, Colorado.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for taking my call. Just to distill it down, what occurs to me is, what the left discovered, Alinsky codified and preached, is they can break the law and change the system faster than we can follow the law to sustain it, and it works out perfectly. I mean, whether the shots, right? You got to get a shot. You got to get a shot. You got to get a shot. Now it's like, you don't need the shot. 3 years later, all this destruction. Change the voting laws et al. Right? It just goes out and out and out, and they know that. And your last caller is correct. The co-conspirators are the voters, and I don't know whether to call them parasites or what. But at the end of the day, these people don't vote themselves in. So really appreciate your great work. Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Dumb electorate.
Why even lodge a protest? We've laid out our views and the basis for our views. People have rejected them. Okay. Well, nobody's stopping you. I mean, they can do the boogeyman stuff all they want. Just remind everyone that no one is stopping them from implementing any of this. This is all, with a few aldermanic exceptions, all one mindset in complete control of the state, certainly the city. So do it. Go ahead. What are you waiting for? Why the hesitation? Why isn't anybody on board, and everybody else, I should say, on board with Brandon Johnson's 3.5% city income tax for incomes over $100,000? Why isn't everybody on board for the millionaire surcharge? The $1 million property surcharge in terms of property taxes to fund the homeless? Of course. Why not? Let's go. Let's get this guaranteed income program scaled countywide like Tony Preckwinkle wants. Do it all. Fast. Faster. Go. There's no impediments. Certainly not the electorate. Greg, Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning. The city, I saw yesterday in the news, they're talking about having the city start to shovel sidewalks so that people with disabilities can get around easier. There's jobs for them, along with the pensions and everything else. That'll cost a couple $100 million a year. And you know what? You can
those
bring all
sidewalk shovelers will make $99,000, so they're not subject to Brandon Johnson's city income tax.
Of course. The other thing is, you can bring all those people up here in Jefferson Park. They're closing schools in the Archdiocese like it's going out of style. St. Bart's School is now closing. I'm sure the church won't be far behind. over here in our parish, or former parish at Our Lady of Victory, the school now has CPS, I believe, kindergarten and preschool classes. There are about 6 or 8 classes go on there every day. So the city's just moving their new classrooms and that into defunct archdiocese schools that they worked out deals with the cardinal on. It's sickening, man.
I mean, look
Have a
at
good
De
one,
La
guys.
Salle.
Thanks,
They
Greg.
combine now they're co-ed, and they have less than 800 kids there. It's
Going
everyone's
down?
leaving. Everyone's going down. Everyone's leaving the city.
Bill in Cape Coral.
Yeah, I'm echoing what those couple of callers in the past said. These people of Woodlawn, they voted for the Democrats. So now it's time, like the great black minister said, your chickens are coming home to roost.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Are you tired of crime on the rampage in Chicago? Is your heart broken that Chicago public schools fail 90% of minority students to achieve reading at grade level? Are you mad that Chicago's world-class reputation has faltered and wounded the love we have for our hometown? Let's save Chicago. This is Vince Colber, a Chicago employer and civic activist, urging you to go to chicagoelections.gov. Do your duty to pick Chicago's leadership. Right now, Chicago is choosing until February 28th candidates for mayor and alderman to solve our crime and public school debacle. Let's save Chicago. Go to chicagoelections.gov. Click on the convenient vote by mail option. Vince Colber here, reminding you to visit chicagoelections.gov, vote by mail as soon as possible. Let's save Chicago.
So, how's it going with your New Year's resolutions? Not so great? Do you even remember what they were? Are you really committed to trying something new, or was it all just talk? Things that seem so doable on New Year's Eve are getting tougher, aren't they? Here's the secret. Develop a new routine. Make your New Year's resolutions part of your everyday routine. Find a time that works for you. Say yes to exercise and stick to it. The pounds will come off. Same goes for your blood pressure. If it's too high, check out my friends at 120 Life. 120 Life is the natural juice drink that helps lower your blood pressure without the side effects of pills. One tiny 8-ounce bottle is all it takes as part of your new daily routine. Just say, I will drink 120 Life every day. The rest just happens. Go to 120life.com, that's 120life.com, and order their 2-week trial pack. Order now and enjoy their risk-free money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code DAN to save 10% at checkout. 120 Life, a resolution in a bottle. We need more stuff like this.
Oil investments involve a high degree of risk and actual results may vary. Oil and natural gas keep going up as the Russia conflict escalates. Get in on the next major oil boom now and help the U.S. with your patriotic investment that can potentially pay you monthly income for up to 20 or more years. That's the sound of a producing oil well and the sound of a smart investment. If you're an SEC accredited investor and have at least $25,000 liquid now, you can take advantage of Encore Energy's projects and a huge tax savings for this year. If you invest in oil and natural gas, you're allowed to write off nearly 100% of your investment in the first year. Goldman Sachs is projecting oil to go up to $100 a barrel, and natural gas is the fuel of the future and trading at record prices. Call 800-287-6691. Encore Energy is a major investor and experienced operator in its core area of operations. Call now and learn how to deduct 100% of your investment and create 20 or more years of potential monthly income. Call 800-287-6691. That's 800-287-6691.
Still sad this morning that Cindy Williams from Laverne and Shirley is dead at the age of 75. Her family said she died from a brief illness that took place. And Mike, when did Penny Marshall die? I thought she was still alive.
The best information that I have is that she passed away in December of 2018, so several years ago.
All right. Well, I'm doing it in about an hour, taking Balance of Nature. Why not eating a well-balanced diet on my own? Fruits and veggies, it's the foundation of all aspects of health, don't you know? And with Balance of Nature, there's 31 different whole fruits and vegetables. They take the fruits and veggies and they convert them into a powder after an advanced vacuum cold process, which stabilizes the maximum nutrient content. Maximum nutrition, get the nutrition your body needs and the nutrition your body craves. Get Balance of Nature. 800-246-8751. That's 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago or online at balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago. The violence in Chicago must stop. Willie Wilson pledges real action to do that. A revised police structure, 4 superintendents, more accessible to their neighborhoods, providing faster communication and concentration of resources. Willie Wilson pledges more integrated police patrols to increase community, confidence, and cooperation. Willie Wilson's pledge will make Chicago safer. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We have the rare twofer, a segment of Campus Beat that folds into a Why Dan Prof to single.
Oh, you're not going to want to miss that.
Comes to us thanks to a course offering from Westminster College in Utah. We'll have that at 6:36.
And later, a proud mom moment. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Amy and Dan, it's 1 above with a wind chill of 7 below, and 3 Memphis emergency medical technicians are being fired over the death of Tyre Nichols. Fox's Jeff Paul is on the ground in Memphis this morning.
It's important to point out that they have been let go, but they have not been charged like the other officers. Their part is still under investigation. Former officer Preston Hemphill has not been charged, and neither has the 7th officer, who has not been identified, but it's video portions that investigators say they'll be zeroing in on. Now, Hemphill is accused of using his taser prior to Tyre Nichols being beaten by the 5 other officers who've since been terminated and charged. Those 5 officers are shown to be punching, kicking, and hitting Nichols with batons.
All this as calls now increase nationwide for some type of police reform in the wake of Nichols' death. The life of a police officer is being mourned in South Georgia. Clarence Williams became the first Georgia officer to die in the line of duty this year, collapsing while chasing a fleeing dangerous suspect in Grady County over the weekend. The 23-year-old worked for the Cairo Police Department. Meantime, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation is investigating a shooting in mid-Georgia where an East Dublin police officer was shot and critically wounded yesterday. 2 weeks after shooters brazenly killed a teen mom, her 10-month-old baby, and 4 other members of her household, the suspects remain at large. Authorities have no motive for the attack in Central California's farm country. A prominent Catholic pro-life activist accused of shoving a Planned Parenthood volunteer was acquitted swiftly of charges Monday on the charges that he instigated that encounter to intimidate workers at a clinic. It took a jury roughly an hour to find Mark Houck not guilty of violations of the FACE Act. 10 are injured during a drive-by shooting in Central Florida. It happened yesterday, where Lakeland Police Chief Sam Taylor says 2 of the victims were critically hurt. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx is dropping charges against R. Kelly. Foxx says they decided not to pursue the case against Kelly after he already faces decades in prison on separate federal convictions in Brooklyn and Chicago. Hundreds gathered downtown Chicago last night calling for swift police reforms over the death of Tyre Nichols. There were no incidents. An elderly man is in critical condition following a Northwest Side home invasion where he shot one of the suspects. The 80-year-old is listed in critical condition. No foul play is suspected in the body of an Illinois State University student that was recovered from a creek in Normal. The student, Matthew Lissman from Libertyville, was discovered in that creek. Preliminary results of an autopsy show the 21-year-old died of drowning and the setting in of cold exposure. Lissman was a graduate of Libertyville High School. And police this morning are searching for the person who may be headed to Chicago who stole $700 worth of wigs in Urbana. Authorities say the wigs were taken from a local store. Photos of the suspect were posted to the Urbana Police Department's Facebook page. Bulls take on the Clippers tonight. On the college hardwood, it's the Fighting Illini in Nebraska and Northwestern battling Iowa. The news service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager doesn't see depth.
This is the greatest single issue of our time is the death of religion. Never in history has there been a civilization that didn't believe in a God. And the shallowness of the secular intellectuals is one of the reasons it isn't even grappled with. It is devoid of depth.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
If your money is not earning at least 5% tax deferred, you need to call Professional Life and Casualty. They're offering a 5% APR on new funds deposited into your annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA accounts. Rates subject to change. Please call to confirm. With Professional Life and Casualty, you pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Professional Life and Casualty has been providing insurance and annuity products for over 60 years. Visit plcinsurance.com. plcinsurance.com. They'll send you a free guide to tax-deferred no-fee annuity. Earn 5% APR on annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA. You pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Only from Professional Life and Casualty. Call 1-800-651-1800. That's 1-800-651-1800. Or online at plcinsurance.com.
Hi, it's Amy. Mike Lindell, you know him, the owner of MyPillow. He continues to roll out new offers on his products. His latest special offer is on the towel set. Yes, towels aren't something you think about often. I never knew what I was missing, though, until I tried the towels last year, and they're excellent. You've all helped build MyPillow into the incredible company it is today. And now Mike's changing the game again with this 6-piece towel set. The set is made with USA cotton, making it extremely absorbent, yet still providing that soft feel you look for in a towel. The set comes with 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, 2 washcloths, typically retailing for $99.98. Well, guess what? For a limited time, you can get this set for the low price of $49.99 with promo code Amy. Remember, all MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. So go to MyPillow.com to find deep discounts on all other MyPillow products as well. Enter promo code Amy or call 1-800-489-0201 for these great radio specials.
6:39. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this look at the roads, a service of Blindster.com. Blindster.com sells custom-made blind shades and shutters, easy to install at prices less than big box retailers. Blindster blinds are custom-made for your windows, guaranteed to fit. Save big. Blindster.com. Let's start at the top. Eden's right now 17 Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy in 27 O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike in 37 390 to the old post office. Ike outbound at accident. 2 left lanes now blocked between North Avenue and York Road. Dan Ryan inbound 15 minutes 95th into the Burns Circle interchange and in Aurora. Eola north and southbound shut down between Montgomery and Ogden. They're recovering a vehicle that rolled into a pond. They've transported the driver of that vehicle in critical condition away from that scene. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunny and frigid, high near 13. Clear and very cold again overnight, low of 4. 1 at O'Hare, 6 along the lakefront, 3 at Midway, minus 10 in Aurora. And your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Cause they got the beat, the campus beat, the campus beat. Yeah, the campus beat. Time now for another reason why Dan Proft is single.
It's the rare twofer. It's Campus Beat and Why Dan Proft is Single, all wrapped into one course offering from Westminster College in scenic Utah.
My Utah?
Your Utah.
Uh-oh. What are the Utes doing now?
Westminster College will be offering a class this summer entitled How to Be a Bitch.
Oh, what? No, we don't use the be. You be assertive.
How to Be a Bitch is the name of the course. What do you want me to do? It's a gender studies course, obviously. I believe the guest lecturer will be Sean Caston.
Hey-yo.
Thank you very much.
Hey, that's a question. Who should be the guest lecturer for the biatch class?
I've just offered mine. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. The class will address questions such as, what does the media teach us about women or gender and leadership, aggression, and behavior? Why are words like bitch and bossy so interesting yet problematic? Come unpack, this is quoting from the class description, come unpack bitch and its related adjectives to figure out what you want to embrace and what we wish would go away.
How could Governor Cox allow such a course to be taught?
Speaking of, 2 credits for How to Be a Bitch. That's a 300-level comms course at Westminster College.
Oh, my goodness.
Reactions? Suggestions for questions these young skulls full of mush, hat tip Rush Limbaugh, should ponder while they're matriculating at Westminster, exploring how to be a bitch?
I hate to use the word. I say biatch. I don't.
Oh, that's much better. Yeah.
Well,
it really takes
you
the
know
edge
what
off.
I'm saying without saying it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's right.
I'm going to have to go with Hillary Clinton.
Oh, you're talking about who should teach.
You clean the server or be the guest lecturer. Yeah.
Yeah. How to be a monster would probably be better, that course. And there's different kinds of bitch, too, right? There's
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, I use that word almost exclusively
for men.
And I use another word almost exclusively for men that women really don't like. I think you know where I'm going with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, right. So I think those words are much better directed at male impersonators like Sean Caston. But I know that, I don't know, everything's misogynistic, just like everything is racist. And so somehow there's like a double bank shot where even if I call Sean Caston a bitch, which I have now about 3 times, that's somehow misogynistic and I'm blah, 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 blah. I'm not being an ally of the gender studies, Pangean drums, and so on and so forth, whatever. Okay. So anyway, back to the course. Now, this isn't the only course that's being offered at Westminster. Another course offered over the summer, Black Women, White Campuses. I believe
that's 2 credits, yeah.
That will be, the instructor there will be Rachel Dolezal, I assume. The existing research on black female students on predominantly white college campuses often results in quantitative data that suggests that black women are more successful at completing degrees than their male counterparts. The course seeks to debunk what it calls a false narrative about the difficulties black female students experience on college campuses. Suggesting that black female students do better academically than their male counterparts leads to a dominant narrative of success that fails to recognize the challenges black female students face as well as the sacrifices they make in order to graduate. So even if they do better than their male counterparts, they're still victims. Don't ever forget that. That's the upshot of it. And you didn't even have to spend, I don't know, $3,000 to take the course. I just gave away the ending. Sorry. The textbooks for black women, white campuses, Black Feminist Epistemology, Critical Race Feminism. They will be used, quote, with a specific focus on intersectionality, and that will be utilized to guide debates and discussions about how race and gender dynamics shape black female students' experiences pursuing a degree on predominantly white college campus. Well, you are in Utah, so, you chose that campus. But anyway. The course outline also states that ultimately this course will examine in depth how race and gender dynamics shape the challenges black female students on predominantly white college campuses face in their pursuit of degrees, as well as how mentorship impacts their navigation through these challenges. This is heady stuff. Heady stuff. This is the kind of deep thinking you can only get on a college campus. Well, actually, not anymore. The exploration of it, you just get the superficial surface skimming when you go work in corporate America. But this is where it all incubates. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're still thinking about how to be a bitch, aren't you?
That's not it. Joy Behar, maybe another guest lecturer.
Why would you say that?
Because she.
What are the characteristics?
Because she constantly biatches about things, and she spews off her mouth on topics she knows nothing about, and just I can't stand her.
Why do
She's
you
a
say,
liberal hack, as you would say.
Why do you say bitches? That's a loaded term. Why don't you say she makes points in a way emblematic of an angry harridan?
Because that's something you would say.
Right.
Because you just said it.
Right.
Yeah.
She explains herself as would a man-hating shrew. But not bitch. No.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line 64636, type in DA, then a quick comment. I got to find out where this Westminster School is.
Sure, maybe you audit the class this summer.
That's not becoming of Utah.
In case
They're a
it's
little
not
higher
obvious,
brow than this.
in case it's not obvious, classes like this, even if they were not so provocatively entitled, have been a staple on college campuses since I was on a college campus, which is another reason Dan Proft is single, because this is the sort of women that colleges are producing. Not exclusively, of course, but anybody who would take this course, you want to go on a date with them?
Heck no.
Well,
I mean, you don't even want your daughter. As a parent, I wouldn't want to pay for my son or daughter to take this class.
Well, if your son is taking this class, he's either got a good sense of humor or there's something very wrong with your son, and it's time to have a conversation.
Maybe he needs 2 more credits. He
So
wants
why
to
not?
take something fun and learn
Right.
about how women tick.
Right.
What makes them so angry, and how do they handle their anger?
Well, I think Jack Nicholson.
To advance the cause.
Jack Nicholson summed it up nicely in As Good as It Gets when he was asked, how his character writes so well for women.
How do you write women so well?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
Maybe they'll screen As Good as It Gets in How to Be a Bitch class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Westminster's in Salt Lake City, by the way. Of course it is.
Well, sure.
Would not be in southern Utah.
Maybe Mitt Romney can
that's
teach the class.
Right.
Yeah, he's a bit of a windblown bitch, isn't he? Yeah.
Or Governor Cox. Remember that audio you played of him one time?
Yeah, he is.
He is. Does his wife know? What did you say?
Yeah. Right. I'm Mormon on the down low, maybe. I don't know. Just raising the specter. Westminster College offers a lot of interesting classes. They offer a sociology class entitled White Conspiracy Online, also 2 credits. You could pile up the credits this summer and have a lot of fun doing it. White Conspiracy Online, what does that course entail, you ask? Thank you. This course provides a platform where students can go online and discover the vast numbers of conspiracy theories specifically related to the alt-right and white power. Well, that'll be a fun summer. Maybe you can get one of those, get Hamilton 68 and those phonies that manufactured Russian bots to provide the course material.
Is there a male equivalent of biatch?
What would that be? I think it's sort of gender neutral in a sense, because it speaks to men who are essentially gender neutral. They're smooth down there like a Ken doll. You know the kind of man I'm talking about. They live all over the suburbs in Chicago. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting one of them. Westminster College continues to make headlines. You may remember other course offerings, including a gender studies course called Porn. The course description of porn is kids watch pornographic films in class.
That was at Westminster too? Hey.
That class, I'm sure, was oversubscribed. Len in Highland Park, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah. Good morning, guys. Joy Behar does not qualify as a bitch. A bitch to me is a woman that is just extremely hot and a little above all of us, super intelligent, but she's got an air about her that men fear that I just absolutely pursued in my youth. And that
So this
is
is-
a bitch.
See, this is actually. Thank you for getting us
So it
back
doesn't
on
have a
track,
negative
Len.
connotation.
No,
It's
this is
positive.
this is what I'm saying. There are different kinds of bitch. There's a bitch like a Sean Caston, who's a detestable figure, and then there's a bitch like Joan Collins in Dynasty, who is alluring.
Oh, she was fun to watch. She was so
See?
sinister.
Yeah.
Am I still on?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
you're
are,
still
sir.
on.
You
Yeah.
are on, Len.
Okay, and I think you're referring to the C word earlier.
Oh.
You
I might have been.
In my days at the Merc, the C word, I said it once to a woman early in my career, and I never said it. Never said it again for 30 years. But
Because you were
did
hospitalized
direct
for
it-
6 months.
I did direct it at many men.
Yeah.
And that was the atom bomb. But
That's words of those are words. Those two words to me, exclusively for describing men, describing eunuchs.
Absolutely. And as a caddy, I often use it too.
Thanks
But,
for the call, Len. Remind me not to have you loop for me. I don't need to be ridiculed while I'm playing bad. Monica and Lyle, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi. I was going to say that if women can be the B word, then men can be the P word, and it rhymes with Rick. I don't even. The first time I heard about the C word, the first time I heard about the C word, I thought it was a sporting term. It sounds like a sports term, not an insult to women.
So so Westminster College should offer a competing course, How to Be a Prick.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
All right. I can teach that. Thanks for the call, Monica. Carl.
See,
in,
Monica can't say the word either. Women can't say it.
Good.
Carl, Big
Good
Cat in
morning.
Oklahoma.
Hey, Amy.
Hello.
Amy, I have to explain to you what the male version of a bitch is. It is a Bravo male that calls an alpha male a bitch, and then gets open hand slapped like the little bitch he is.
There you go.
Now,
yeah, the open hand
important
slapping
thing
of
I
another man. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very good.
The point I wanted to make, though, as far as the black girls doing better than their male counterparts,
Yeah.
why can't we just let them be successful instead of trying to indoctrinate them into being victims and social influencers?
Well, thanks for the call, Carl. If they weren't persuaded that they were victims, then they wouldn't be spokespeople for the Democrat Socialists. I mean, any confident, self-actualized male or female has no place with the Democrat Socialists. And what is the mission of higher education? Political activism. Pretty simple. Rick in Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning. Hey, I thought being a bitch came natural to women, like walking. It's like taking a college course on walking. And you ask the professor, hey, how do you get to that class on walking? Well, you got to walk there. So it's like it just happens.
Yeah, that's why Rick from Downers Grove is single, which is like a companion segment to the Why Dan Proft is single. One other, since we're on the topic.
Yeah, why not?
Of why.
I'm sure HR is going to talk to us after this segment, but
why,
all right.
Why? These are not any of George Carlin's
right.
words. No. All FCC compliant. But why Rick and Dan are single. The new hotspot for ladies in search of a husband?
Oh,
You
I
see
know what
this?
it is.
What is it?
It's so up my alley. It's Home Depot, isn't it?
It is Home Depot. Yeah.
Remember I told you want a handyman. You want somebody like Jesus, who's a carpenter. And you want to
yes.
find a guy that can, be a handyman as well.
Yeah, that's
I knew it.
This is where it is. Women of TikTok have discovered a perfect spot to window shop for single men. Delete the dating apps in 2023. I'm headed to Home Depot to look confused, quote unquote, in the lumber aisle.
Oh. Where's your plywood or your 2x4, sir?
Home Depot dating has 3.6 billion views.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah.
Dan, you better go to the lumber aisle.
Yeah, but
the plumbing aisle. Get some PVC.
But if I was in the lumber aisle, I would literally be confused. That's the problem. I would be of no help. I'm not handy, so that's why another reason why Dan
It's not
Proft
too
is
late
single.
to start.
Honestly, I have no interest in it.
Did you ever take industrial arts or auto shop or anything?
No, I was taking 17th century French philosophers at the time.
Well, one of us took auto shop, but it wasn't you.
Yeah, I can't. I just like it's something I have no interest in. I don't. I like other people have to build stuff and fix it. I
pay people to do that. It's
yeah,
all right.
I mean, it's just like
You're a biatch.
I can't get jazzed about it. I'm like I have a whole like home gut rehab going on right now, and
you don't help out at all, or
this will be impressive to you.
Yes. What did you do?
My architect and general contractor.
Yeah.
Female.
Hey.
See, and she's very good. See,
I'm
so
sure
I'm
she's
not
really good at her job.
I'm not. It's just like competence, whatever. She knows infinitely more than I do. I have no idea. I don't know. She's like, would you like this, like that? I don't know.
You're gonna get a new ceiling in your kitchen.
What is this? What do these things do? What do we? How much is that? What is that? I'm totally clueless. So thankfully she's reputable because she otherwise could take advantage of.
She could easily. But do you know about framing of the house and then putting the electrical in?
I know what it is.
Okay.
But can I do it? Do I know if it's done right? Not until I try to flip on a light or something.
What about
I have
hanging
no idea.
drywall?
I'm not doing any of that. I don't do that.
You got to get rid of the ceiling tiles in your kitchen. It's so annoying.
I'm too pretty. I can't do that stuff. I can't get dirty. Jason in Chicago.
Yeah, I think Joe Walsh should get left in the class on how to be a bitch.
That's another good.
That's
another
good.
Good suggestion.
Actually,
Sure.
that's my favorite suggestion yet. Him and Sean Casson could.
They could do it together.
Yeah, they kind of look alike too.
Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule. Changing the world, one life at a time.
Well, I drive a truck for a living. I don't get hardly any exercise. I'm not kidding you now. I'm not easily sold on anything, but I'm a firm believer in this product. You know, I watched those advertisements for 2 or 3 years and listened to the radio going down the road, and I said, something's got to be going on with that product for that many people to do ads for them. And I'll tell you what, I just uptown a while ago, I told some of my buddies, I said, I'm not BSing you, man. I'm not kidding you. It's amazing. It totally amazes me.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
About 30 years ago, Philip Howard wrote one of the most important books of, the previous 30 years, called The Death of Common Sense. He's back with another offering on public sector unions, and he joins us at 7:07 to discuss it.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Amy and Dan in Cook County dropping charges against R. Kelly. We'll hear from the Cook County State's Attorney, Kim Fox. DuPage County Sheriff is avoiding possible censure. An ex-suburban school worker accused of swiping $1.5 million worth of chicken wings. No foul play is suspected after the body of an Illinois State student was found in Normal. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
They aren't charged now, but could be. I'm Dave Anthony. Fox News. 2 Memphis police officers relieved of their duty for their roles in the Tyree Nichols traffic stop turned beating that has 5 now ex-cops charged with murder. But that's not the only new fallout. The Memphis Fire Department has fired 3 emergency responders. Fox's Gernal Scott has more.
According to an investigation, EMTs Jamichael Sandridge, Robert
Lieutenant Michelle Whitaker responded to the scene on the basis of a first call of a person pepper sprayed. Chief Sweat said even after seeing Nichols on the ground handcuffed and leaning against a car, Sandridge and Long did not conduct an adequate patient assessment.
Instead, they all stayed in the fire truck. There's a search for gunmen in Lakeland, Florida, after a drive-by shooting into a crowd that left 10 people wounded. True critically, Police Chief Sam Taylor.
When stuff like this happens, it just kind of hits home with me a little bit that, maybe we're not a small town anymore. And it actually is pretty sad.
COVID's still here, constantly mutating, but more than 3 years after the pandemic was declared, a change is coming in the way the pandemic is handled by the federal government.
The administration's plan is to extend the emergency declarations to May 11th and then end both emergencies on that date. But Republicans are demanding that the COVID spending that has come with the declarations needs to end now.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff. Ukraine's getting new tanks to help fight Russia. Now it wants fighter jets. Ukraine's defense ministers in Paris today asking France to send them. The U.S. is not interested.
When President Biden was asked Monday,
the United States provides F-16s to Ukraine.
No. Russian officials have said supplying Ukraine with advanced weapons constitutes direct involvement.
Fox's Jill Nato. Former President Trump's filed a lawsuit against Bob Woodward and his publisher, claiming he never gave permission to publicly release quarterly recordings of Trump interviews for the book Rage. Woodward and Simon & Schuster say that's not true. The former president knew and agreed. America's listening to Fox News.
Some clouds in the area, but we expect clearing conditions throughout the day. A little bit of sunshine. It's one above right now with a wind chill of -7 at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx is dropping charges against R. Kelly. Kelly's office, or Fox's office, charged Kelly with aggravated criminal sexual assault back in 2019.
Kelly is potentially looking at the possibility of never walking out of prison again for the crimes that he has committed.
So Fox says they decided not to pursue the case against Kelly since he's already facing decades in federal prison. The DuPage County Board will not seek to censure County Sheriff James Mendrick over comments he would not enforce Governor Pritzker's new assault weapons ban. Meantime, McHenry County's challenge to Illinois' assault weapons ban is being moved into federal court on the request of Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul. An elderly man is in critical condition following a Northwest Side home invasion Monday where he shot one of the suspects. Police say the 80-year-old answered the door after a 51-year-old and 31-year-old woman knocked on it. They forced entry in the 8500 block of West Catherine without permission, and then a physical altercation ensued. The 80-year-old is a FOID card holder, shot the man in the chest. All three were transported to Resurrection Hospital. No foul play suspected after the body of an Illinois State University student from Libertyville was found last week in Normal. Matthew Lissman's body was discovered Friday near a creek in the 900 block of North Main. Preliminary results of an autopsy show the 21-year-old died of drowning and the setting in of cold exposure. Lissman graduated from Libertyville High School. Hockey legend Bobby Hull dead at the age of 84. Hull was a 12-time All-Star selection and scored 610 goals in his career, most with the Chicago Blackhawks and then the Winnipeg Jets. Bulls tip off a 4-game homestand with a game against the LA Clippers tonight. College hoops fighting Illini in Nebraska. Northwestern takes on Iowa at Carver Hawkeye. The news, a service of Salem Surround. Go to surroundchicago.com today. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher doesn't believe the rhetoric.
You see, this is a fascinating tactic of the left. What they're trying to do is pretend that the violence that we saw erupting all through the streets of America after George Floyd, and even the violence we saw this weekend in Atlanta, don't believe your lying eyes, it's not really violent. Burning down a building is a peaceful way to say you didn't like the fact that George Floyd was killed.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank.
We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Inflation is nothing more than a legal form of theft. Because with every new round of money printing, the value of your 401k or IRA is decreased through the dilution of the money supply. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and while you still can, I highly recommend you consider physical gold for your retirement account. Why? Because gold provides real wealth preservation that can withstand anything. Even better, with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group, you pay no penalties or taxes when you transfer your current retirement funds. To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898. And my friends from Birch Gold Group will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold is the only gold IRA company I trust, so text PROTECT to 989898 to request your free info kit on gold IRAs right now.
7:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of the AM 560 mobile app and Tim Stearns Financial. Tune in Saturdays at noon to Protect and Grow with Tim Stearns. Enjoy weekly discussions on a secure retirement. Inbound Edens has stop-and-go traffic. Devon to Montrose. It's 20 minutes inbound from Lake Cook Road. Kennedy inbound 37, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson, pretty mild, 41 right now, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
A frigid day, mostly sunny. Our high today only 13. Clear, frigid night tonight, low 4. Sun followed by clouds tomorrow, the high 28. And then sunny skies Thursday, the high at 31. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Our time is 7:08. Time to put Signature Bank by your side. Visit signaturebank.bank. And at this hour, it is 2 above at O'Hare under mostly cloudy skies, partly cloudy at Midway, and 3 above. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Who needs common sense, human judgment, when you have the Federal Register and all sorts of layers of bureaucracy and policies and procedures? That was in part the gist of Philip Howard's book, The Death of Common Sense, that really generated conversation that had not been taking place until that book was published. This is about 30 years ago. Such an important book, along with Harvey Silvergate's 3 Felonies a Day, to get both academics and policymakers and ordinary people thinking about the bureaucratic state and the idea that if the law is unknowable, you no longer have the rule of law. You're ushering in an era of the rule of men. And unfortunately, we didn't really heed Philip K. Howard's call in The Death of Common Sense. He's had several other offerings in the interim, and he's got a new one now. Not Accountable, Rethinking the Constitutionality of Public Employee Unions. Oh, we know something about that in Illinois.
Yes, we do.
After we just codified in November constitutional amendment that guarantees that we shall all work for the public sector unions in perpetuity, even those who are not members of the public sector unions and derive no benefits. We just have our houses used as collateral for their guaranteed seven-figure pensions, which is how it works in Illinois. We're all spare parts for the public sector unions, and that's in spite of the Janus decision, which I want to talk to Mr. Howard about. Again, the book, Not Accountable, Rethinking the Constitutionality of Public Employee Unions. Former Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels, and now Senate candidate Mitch Daniels, he writes about Philip Howard's latest offering, calling on the deep legal knowledge that took him to the top of his profession. He's an attorney. The author crafts a strong case that the lurch into public unionization, dismissed as unthinkable by such labor champions as FDR and George Meany, was not only misguided but unconstitutional. Philip Howard, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan.
So the practical implications of states that are dominated by public sector unions, we know all too well in Illinois. And we make the arguments about sustainability, about fairness when it comes to salaries and guaranteed benefits like the pensions. But the constitutionality argument, we know it's a sort of a rigged system where you have public sector unions financing the quote-unquote management that they then negotiate with. But you're arguing it's unconstitutional. And so rather than, fighting a war of attrition through cases like Janus, maybe we make the overarching constitutional argument to address public sector unionization writ large.
That's the goal of the book.
All right, tell us the argument.
Almost without our noticing it, we've created a system in which we elect mayors and governors who have no authority to run government.
So what's the constitutional argument, though, that could upend this arrangement?
Well, there's a basic constitutional principle that government and government officials can't cede governing authority to any private group. And this is reflected in several places in the Constitution. But as it applies to states and cities, something called the Guarantee Clause. The United States will guarantee to every state a Republican form of government. And what James Madison said that meant is that voters have to maintain the authority to elect people who themselves maintain the authority to run government. That's the point of a Republican form of government. And what's happened in the last 50 years, it's really only in the last 50 years, is that legislatures have been basically bought off by the public unions, and they've given the authority for the operations of government over to the public unions. You can't fire a bad teacher, you can't fire a bad cop, you can't do daily management that makes sense. So you have government operating at, pick a number, 30% or 50% effectiveness. You have schools in the city of Chicago that are basically run by the teachers' unions, not run by the city of Chicago. They wouldn't even go back to work for 2 years.
Oh, I know. My kids are in the system. But what are the other ways that public unions undermine democracy?
Well, there's democracy's process of accountability. There is near zero accountability in government. Democracy is electing people, elected executives to run the operating machinery of government, to run the transit system effectively, whatever. It's unmanageable. There are these multi-hundred-page collective bargaining agreements that literally require union approval before you do anything. If there's a branch overhanging the rail line, the repair crew can't fix it. They have to call in can't cut it. They have to call in a separate crew to do it. It's just incredibly inefficient. It's built for feather bedding. It's not affordable. Illinois is functionally insolvent because of all these long-term promises made by political leaders in exchange for, again, effectively payoffs.
Well, but let me
union support.
Yeah, let me play devil's advocate here, though, and pretend I'm the head of the SEIU here. Say, well, wait a second. So you just said that we make deals with politicians. So we argue our case. We present what we would like, whether it's collective bargaining, over a particular contract, or it's other public policy, and all sorts of other unions in the private sector make the same cases, and business trade groups, and everybody else gets to make their case. So why can't we exercise our right to collectively bargain in the public sector and make our case as well? And ultimately, it's the politicians who make the decisions.
Sure, that's a good question. So, first of all, there's a difference in kind. When a private group, whether it's a union or a business group, asks for a favor, they ask for some subsidy or favor, and that comes out of the public sector, and some of those can be not very good. What the public unions have done, they haven't asked for a favor from government. They've taken over the entire operating machinery of government. So it's not a little slice, it's sort of virtually the whole slice, number one. Number two, there's a fundamental difference between every outside group, including trade unions and business groups, and public unions. Public unions have an ethical duty of loyalty to serve the public. And what they've done over the last 50 years is mobilize this huge mass of public employees against the effective operations of government. You can't reform it, you can't run it. So that's what Not Accountable is about. It's about the fundamental difference between public unions and every other group, and what they've done to democracy, which I believe, and there's now, book's been out a week, a lot of commentary, that people are saying, I'm right.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it seems to me one of the angles would be on this is to say, look, since it's a rigged negotiation, in quotation marks, between the public sector union and the politicians of a particular unit of government, then the contract is unenforceable because it's rigged. It's not adversarial. It's a show negotiation, and so it should be the legal term should be unconscionable and thus unenforceable.
That's correct. And so, for example, in trade unions context, it would be unlawful for the management to buy off complicit, workers, to have a kind of a fake union. In the public union context, the game is exactly that the unions get together, are generally the biggest supporters of political officials, and then when the politicians win, the unions don't sit on the other side of the table; they sit on the same side of the table,
right?
And say, "Now, what are you going to give me?"
I wanted to get to the Janus decision because there were such high hopes for that Supreme Court decision. Mark Janus, a state of Illinois worker, and it's particularly poignant for me, not just because it's Illinois. He was an Illinois state worker, but also because I was a co-founder of the Liberty Justice Center, which represented Janus all the way up to the Supreme Court and continues to do great public interest law work in Illinois and elsewhere. And we had such high hopes that if those fees that were imposed on workers were not mandatory anymore, so Mark Janus didn't have to devote a portion of his salary to AFSCME's political agenda and the candidates that AFSCME wants to support, that you would see a lot of people leave the union. There were projections that unions around the country would be losing in the billions of dollars, and thus their political power would diminish. But that really hasn't happened. And I wonder, not to the levels that were anticipated. It was supposed to be double-digit losses for public sector union membership, and it's been low single-digit losses. And so I wonder if you think that it's the result of a lack of knowledge and obstructionism by public sector unions. We haven't been persuasive enough in making the case to public sector employees that they can take a walk. They don't have to they don't have to feel compelled to participate in things they don't want to participate in. Why has Janus not lived up to the advanced billing?
I think there are lots of reasons. But part of it is that just the power of inertia. People are used to the unions and such. Yeah. Secondly, it's a kind of natural fear of accountability. And, people just go along with the flow. They think in some mysterious way that the unions are supporting them. I mean, many public workers think that unions provide them benefits. In fact, the benefits that, quote, unions provide are paid for by the government, and you don't have to belong to the union to get them. But most workers don't know that. and I don't know about Illinois, but in other states, the laws have been passed in response to Janus, which basically said that if you discourage any worker from belonging to the union, you, the state, will be liable for damages to the union. I mean, it's like crazy, you know. So I think I think Janus was an extremely important decision. And by the way, most of the decision is not about the First Amendment right of public workers not to belong to the union and or not to pay agency fees. Most of the opinion was about how the unions had made the public sector ungovernable. Had nothing to do with the holding of the opinion.
Yeah.
So what
the dicta in there?
Yeah. So what my book does, what Not Accountable does, is basically presents the constitutional framework for getting rid of these controls, union controls over government.
And if public sector unions went away, the public sector worker says, well, then what would replace them? I would just be an at-will employee subject to the political whims of elections?
No, there was never any reason to give public unions collective bargaining. First of all, you can have unions without collective bargaining. That's what the National Education Association was, before the 1970s. It was like the American Medical Association. It was advocated for certain policies, but it didn't have the power to kind of coerce government, number one. Number two, we have civil service systems. And civil service systems do protect workers, but they're supposed to be the, quote, the merit system. And what unions have done is turned government employee into the anti-merit system. So you can keep your job no matter how bad you are.
That's no truer words have been spoken. Amy, did you?
Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you.
The book is Not Accountable, Rethinking the Constitutionality of Public Employee Unions. The author, Philip K. Howard. Pick up Not Accountable. And while you're at it, go pick up Death of Common Sense and the rest of Philip Howard's oeuvre as well. Philip Howard, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the book.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dan. Bye.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Jerry Boyer for townhall.com. You probably know who your governor is and your senators too, but do you know who your state treasurer is? How about your comptroller? Well, it's time to start paying attention because these officers have emerged as the new front line against the intrusion of politics into finance under the guise of ESG. On my podcast, Meeting of Minds, I recently interviewed John Moranti, treasurer of Nebraska, an agricultural state. He warns that the war against fossil fuels is now turning into a war against agriculture, as government and activists push companies to divest not just from the energy industry, but from industries that use energy. And farms use energy. Whether they know it or not, ESG activists would create a world where we are colder, more hungry, and in the dark. It's time to start engaging with the companies you own in your 401k. Remember, they work for you. I'm Jerry Boyer.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu.
Guys, a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and be sure to go to a provider you can trust. I recommend my friends at Low T Center. It's where I get my levels checked for the past 8 years. Low T Center exclusively specializes in men's wellness. They check all your levels, not just your testosterone, and they determine the cause of any symptoms you're having and whether you're a candidate for low T or something else like low thyroid or sleep apnea. Typically, their annual health assessment is completely covered by health insurance, and they check everything, including PSA, your prostate levels, as well as thyroid, liver and kidney function, cholesterol, glucose levels, and more. Low T Center has affordable and convenient options for treatment, including monitored self-inject treatment that ships directly to you each month, so no need to come to the center each week. Make your health a priority this new year and schedule your annual health assessment at Low T Center today. It's covered by most health insurance or less than $100 cash pay. Visit lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Proft sent you when you do. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
This holiday season, your shopping isn't complete without a stop at Marshall Pearson Company Fine Jewelers at 960 North Michigan Avenue. Marshall Pearson Company specializes in custom engagement rings, luxury watches, and top designer jewelry brands. You're invited to stop by their gorgeous Magmile showroom today. Browse their vast selection of top luxury watches by Cartier, IWC, Jaeger-LeCoultre, Panerai, and jewelry designs by Mikimoto, Marco Bicego, Paul Morelli, and Suzanne Kalon. Nothing says Merry Christmas like the gift of jewelry. Marshall Pearson Company Fine Jewelers, 960 North Michigan Avenue at the corner of Oak and Michigan. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5. Sunday hours, 11 a.m. to 4. Shop their ultimate holiday gift guide online at marshallpierce.com, where they've curated the best gifts to help you check everyone off your list. Marshall Pearson Company, purveyors of fine jewelry and timepieces since 1928. Phone is 312-642-4299. Marshall Pearson Company is proud to support Food for the Poor and AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, small business owners, listen up during these shaky economy times, global unrest, rising inflation. Who knows what's next? There is one thing that you can count on, and that's the peace of mind that Turnkey Solutions offers your business. It's called All In, and what it is all new hardware, advanced firewall protection, 24/7 US-based support, and backup of all devices on that cloud up there. It's normally $3,000. They're going to give it to you first month free. Yes. How's that to help fight increasing prices? All In, again, is a no-worries program. And to start the conversation today, visit turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Nick Philippus, co-owner of Joe Donut and a proud customer of Signature Bank. We're a locally owned artisan donut shop that focuses on chef-made small batch and craft donuts. We have 7 locations around the Chicagoland suburbs, with an 8th location coming soon. After opening our original stores in Glenview and Niles, we came to Signature Bank for financing for our new Mount Prospect location. From PPP and material delays in construction, Signature Bank was flexible and truly a banking partner that a small business like ours hadn't experienced before. Even their fraud department was able to stop a $30,000 fraudulent check from clearing our account. That allowed us to focus on selling donuts, knowing Signature Bank had our back.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
All right, by now you've heard us talk about MyPillow and how Mike has done it again by introducing his new My Slippers. He's created more sizes, larger widths, and it's taken him 2 years to develop this perfect slipper. They're designed to wear indoors and outdoors all day long. They're made with MyPillow foam and impact gel to help prevent fatigue. And once you put them on, you're going to buy slippers for your entire family, mark my word, because it's time to treat your feet today. $90 off his new MyPillow My Slippers. Go to MyPillow.com. And when you check out, be sure to use promo code Amy, A-M-Y, and you'll get deep discounts on the MyPillow My Slippers, plus all MyPillow products, including the Giza Dream bed sheets, the MyPillow mattress topper, MyPillow towel sets, and so much more. MyPillow.com, promo code Amy, or call 800-489-0201 and tell them Amy sent you.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Are you tired of crime on the rampage in Chicago? Is your heart broken that Chicago public schools fail 90% of minority students to achieve reading at grade level? Are you mad that Chicago's world-class reputation has faltered and wounded the love we have for our hometown? Let's save Chicago. This is Vince Colber, a Chicago employer and civic activist, urging you to go to chicagoelections.gov. Do your duty to pick Chicago's leadership. Right now, Chicago is choosing until February 28th candidates for mayor and alderman to solve our crime and public school debacle. Let's save Chicago. Go to chicagoelections.gov. Click on the convenient vote by mail option. Vince Colber here, reminding you to visit chicagoelections.gov, vote by mail as soon as possible. Let's save Chicago.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Well, I drive a truck for a living. I don't get hardly any exercise. I'm not kidding you now. I'm not easily sold on anything, but I'm a firm believer in this product. You know, I watched those advertisements for 2 or 3 years and listened to the radio going down the road, and I said, something's got to be going on with that product for that many people to do ads for them. And I'll tell you what, I just uptown a while ago, I told some of my buddies, I said, I'm not BSing you, man. I'm not kidding you. It's amazing. It totally amazes me.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, time for our weekly confab with Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints.com. All things Illinois policy related. We'll get his reaction to some of what Philip Howard had to say about public sector unionization. That's 7:37.
And Dan, we've come full circle with President Trump. Now we're back to Stormy Daniels. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
2 above, wind chill of 7 below. At 7:31 on AM 560, The Answer. 3 Memphis EMTs are being fired over the death of Tyre Nichols. This morning, the Memphis Fire Department said the first responders violated multiple department policies when they were at the scene earlier this month. The Biden administration is set to end 2 emergencies related to the COVID-19 pandemic, but not until May 11. On Monday, the White House informed Congress that both the national and public health emergencies will come to a close. The opening bell rings this morning as the Fed's interest rate decision looms. The bank is expected to raise rates by 0.25 percentage point when it wraps up a 2-day meeting on Wednesday. Some major insurance companies may be ending coverage for Kia and Hyundai owners over ongoing theft issues. CNN reports State Farm and Progressive have confirmed that they're limiting the sale of new policies on certain models of the vehicles because they lack anti-theft devices that are in use on other cars. Well, it's more than just a little monkey business at the Dallas Zoo. This after 2 emperor tamarin monkeys came up missing. Ron McGill with the Miami Zoo says there have been a number of incidents and they're getting more and more suspicious.
I find it very hard to believe that all of these incidents are coincidence or that all of these incidents are the result of, human error or defective equipment. The more I hear about this, the more I think that there is malintent behind it.
The zoo says habitats have been intentionally compromised. Before this, a clouded leopard escaped after it had been tampered with. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx's office is dropping charges against R. Kelly. Foxx's office charged that singer with aggravated criminal sexual assault and aggravated criminal sexual abuse charges involving 4 victims in 2019.
Mr. Kelly is potentially looking at the possibility of never walking out of prison again for the crimes that he has committed.
Fox says that prompted their decision not to continue pursuing their case since Kelly is already facing decades in prison. McHenry County's challenge to Illinois' assault weapons ban is being moved to federal court at the insistence of Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul. Indiana state lawmakers are deciding on a bill that would let school board candidates pick a political party on the ballot. A hearing has been held for Senate Bill 118 in Indiana. 188 was discussed last year at a state house hearing as well, but no one testified in support then. Supporters and opponents both testified in the Senate Election Committee hearing that it was worth looking at, and several parents says races are already partisan, and declaring a party will give voters in Indiana better clarity. Bulls take on the Clippers tonight. College hoops, Fighting Illini, Nebraska, Northwestern, and Iowa. And tonight, DePaul men host number 23 UConn. The news service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app. We will have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk explains the overall goal.
Basically, they're saying disinformation, the ability to speak freely, the ability to challenge authority, that is the fundamental challenge in front of all challenges. Look at how they have continually focused on suppressing speech, censoring different ideas. They have to be able to shut you up.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille. With literally record amounts of your money filling government bank accounts, it is simply outrageous that Democrats are asking for more. In just the last 2 years, Illinois state-sourced revenues are up $13.5 billion. But Illinois Democrats want more. In an interview with Crain's, State Rep Will Guzzardi explained his latest idea is a wealth tax. We're going to say to billionaires with all their assets, when your assets go up in value, we're going to tax them on that increase. Taxing unrealized gains is insane, but the contempt Guzzardi has for successful people is what is truly contemptible. Guzzardi went on to say, people with assets of $1 billion or more, I'm confident they'll have the scratch to pay the bill. Scratch? Billionaires have the scratch? Isn't he cool? Using slang to describe other people's hard-earned wealth. The website Stacker listed Illinois' 20 billionaires. 14 of the 20 are self-made. They earned their wealth in insurance, packaging, finance, sports, technology, and even meat and poultry processing. Not on the list is Ken Griffin. He left Illinois last year, just like every other billionaire would leave if such a wealth tax passed. The other 6 billionaires on the list inherited their wealth, including 4 Pritzkers. Just who is Will Guzzardi? He's a soft-handed, soft-minded, Ivy League-educated man of privilege whose comparative literature degree was just good enough to get him a HuffPo internship out of college. Then he ran for office and won. Unlike the billionaires he derides, Guzzardi hasn't created any wealth to employ others or allow him to generously donate to civic causes. I'm Jeannie Ives. Be informed. Listen to my podcast at breakthrough-ideas.com. That's breakthrough-ideas.com.
Jackson Hewitt guarantees your biggest tax refund, plus a chance to double your refund with the Double Your Refund sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. U.S. residents 18 or older who file a 2022 federal return. Ends 4/2/23.
7:37. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Edens, 32 minutes. Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy inbound, 61 minutes. O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. Ike inbound, it's an hour 10, 390 to the old post office. Stevenson, 43 minutes. In from the Tri-State to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan in, 24 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle. Bishopport and I-57 both jamming into the Ryan Merge. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mostly sunny, frigid. High of 13 today. Clear and very cold again overnight. Low 4 above. It's 2 above right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with Ted Dabrowski, President, WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. I sense waning enthusiasm for COVIDianism. I hope it's not the case, but I was disappointed to read yesterday that Mr. 10%, the big guy, President Biden, will end the emergency declarations May 11th. Only 90 more days to enjoy COVIDian hysterics.
But why not end it now?
Oh.
Or March 1st or April 1st when it should be. They're briefly extending it till May 11th.
90
There's nothing
days.
brief about that. It's been 3 years.
You can't quit cold turkey. You got to ease people out of their COVIDian posture, you see. God, plus, I mean, think about the tears that were shed in the governor's mansion, and I'm talking about the one in Chicago, over this. I mean, there's been nobody who's been more of a celebrant of emergency declarations than one Governor Spalding. It's sad.
What are we going to do to memorialize this on May 11th?
Well, you know, he
play music the whole day?
He must be picking up on something because, or emergency declaration
if you
come
would
to an end.
have told me 3 years ago that the emergency declaration would last 3 years,
well,
I
look,
probably shouldn't have known back then because I could have done something stupid.
The declaration's death is greatly exaggerated because, lest we forget, you can always reinstate them.
Oh, that's right.
You know, even the Aussies are losing their vigor for COVIDianism.
Oh, really?
Down Under, which was the country subject to perhaps one of the most draconian lockdowns of the era.
Horrible. They chased people down and put them in COVID camps.
No coming in, no going out, and it's an island, so that really limited people. But they're not so excited about this endless stream of boosters. Listen to this report.
Well, despite calls from health authorities to roll up our sleeves for a fifth dose, a large amount of Australians are still resisting getting their COVID booster shot, according to the latest data. Eddie Meyer joins me now to talk me through us. Eddie, talk me through the numbers. They're quite surprising.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. This is research done for the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, and it basically shows that there's a fall in the number of us willing to go from 3 to 4 doses, and that's particularly true in that more vulnerable population over 65. Just 24% of them have had their 4th dose. And right now, overall, just a third of us have had our 4th dose. 40% have had 3, 17% haven't gone beyond those first 2. 1% just had that one shot and no more. And 6% of us still remain unvaccinated. Now, it's telling because there are still thousands of cases every day. And COVID is putting 50 times more people in hospital than the flu, and it's killing between 50 and 100 times more people than the flu right now.
Wow, so the figures don't lie. But why then are people still reluctant to get another booster?
Well, I had a chat to some GPs this morning, and they say that there's a lack of fear at the moment. People have seen themselves and others get COVID and they've been okay, they've had a couple of doses, and they seem to be complacent about what it will do to them. The trouble is that there are still people who are getting quite sick, and there are people who are getting long COVID. And right now, the body that looks after vaccinations recommends on vaccinations, ATAGI, is considering a 5th dose, particularly for those people who are in that more vulnerable group. Yeah, so that should come out in coming days or coming weeks.
Okay, Eddie, thank you.
Yeah. Maybe they're looking to say, let's see, it's COVID or my government. Maybe I'll take my chances with COVID. Fear, you say. Well, that's ready to order for the Australian government, I'm sure. They'll try to seize upon that. Maybe it's something else. And by the way, this has been discussed at some length by many who've been deplatformed. What did Australia do? Delayed the spread.
Right.
Didn't stop it. So now it's being visited upon Australia in a way that it has already been visited upon a lot of other parts of the world. And of course, the vaccines do not provide much in the way of protection from being infected. And the idea that, right. And the idea that it mitigates the lethality is increasingly an open question. So that's happening. Something else too, we talked a little bit earlier, was it yesterday or maybe last week, about this CBO report, $60 billion in unemployment insurance fraud during all the funny money payouts from the federal government. Yeah, maybe it was $4 trillion altogether. Just a reminder, the Johns Hopkins University meta-analysis of studies done on the effectiveness of lockdowns and school closures and so forth. Quoting Johns Hopkins, we find no evidence that lockdown, school closures, border closures, and limiting gatherings have had a noticeable effect on COVID-19 mortality. But all of those interventions, quote, have contributed to reducing economic activity, raising unemployment, reducing schooling, causing political unrest, contributing to domestic violence, and undermining liberal democracy.
This from Johns Hopkins?
Johns Hopkins meta-study on all the studies done to assess the effectiveness of the COVID-19 mitigations, all those things these COVIDians celebrated. That's their conclusion. So it seems like it was a full $4 trillion that was frauded, transferring money from some to others over the course of the last 3 years. And for what? Oh, by the way, Issues and Insights points out in an editorial, what did we get for all this? Look at the fatality numbers. At the start of COVID, experts said nothing would result in doing nothing would result in 1.7 million deaths. We did plenty, but the death count is steadily approaching that number anyway. For more on all things COVID here in the Midwest Center of COVIDianism, pleased to be joined by Ted Dabrowski. Now, Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Good morning.
The emergency declarations, golly gee, what will Pritzker have to do this summer when they are no more, unless he decides to continue them in spite of Biden stopping his?
Well, that wouldn't be surprising, right? He might find a reason for doing it. I mean, of course, right now, two big reasons that he keeps doing it is he gets more federal money for food stamps and for Medicaid, and so there's extra money flowing into the state, and he gets to spend it and makes him look good. But he could try to keep it going for that, but if not, just to keep the power. He's been doing this for 1,055 days. It's way over 70% of the time he's been in office.
But if you look at our numbers right now are so good. I mean, if you look, I know, Dan, you don't want to talk about colors, but we're in green, which is the lowest, and most of our state is in green with just a few counties in yellow.
If I invite the listeners here, whoever's got some time to waste, go read his declaration, and it's like 3 or 4 or 5 pages long. It's all these whereas. It's so old, it's so dated, it has nothing to do with anything. And I was reading it a couple of days ago, and just thinking, if you want to keep doing this, tear it up and do something new and tell us why you're doing it. But it's a bunch of I hate to say it, hogwash, really.
Getting to the mayor's race, you opined on this recently. The responses that we continue to get, the proposals we continue to see. Let's start with public safety. From the 9 mayoral candidates on public safety, some are pro-Safety Act, others are not. Few are willing to at least publicly praise Kim Foxx. That says something. They're critical of Lori Lightfoot, but the constant refrain from almost all of them is just spending more money on midnight basketball and social workers. Is there anybody saying anything that's relevant to the actual substance of the crime problem in Chicago?
I spent time on that debate that was whatever it was, a week and a half ago. I can't remember how long ago it was, but I took notes. I tried to listen to what everybody was saying, and for the most part, everybody, and I'll give the exceptions in just a second, but the whole goal of the whole message is equity, the whole message is investment, and all that continues to pretend that the current progressive policies, and they're very progressive, are good, and this whole treatment of equity and diversity, inclusion, all that stuff, when you strip out and look at the facts and look at what the actual progressive policies are doing, they actually hurt the blacks that they say they want to protect, and the Hispanics. You look at the educational results. Everything that they keep doing make things worse, right? Everything they keep doing on crime makes things worse for the blacks and Latinos. I said this the other day. 95% of all murder victims, are blacks or Hispanics. So every time they're more lax with these policies, the more that blacks and Hispanics die. Every time they're more lax on education and getting softer on merit and achievement, more kids fail, right? It's 7% of black kids in all of CPS can do math at grade level. So 93 out of every 100 can't do math, and they want to perpetuate those same policies. So I hear nothing but the same old thing. The only two that have anything sensible to say and go counter to that are Vallis and Wilson. They're willing to challenge the system in a way that I don't hear any of the others willing to do. So, but I still think that both of them need to differentiate themselves even more, because they need to be heard more clearly. I know that might be politically tough, but it needs to be more clear, because otherwise, the messages are all getting kind of lost when you have 9 candidates.
Is WirePoint's going to be endorsing a candidate?
We're a 501c3, so we won't endorse a candidate. We'll point out the good policies and point out the bad ones. But we can't. We don't, and we can't.
Chuy Garcia wouldn't even be in this race if it weren't for the public sector unions. You could say the same to some extent. Lori Lightfoot, she's got some unions behind her as well. Obviously, Brandon Johnson has CTU behind him, which is why he's considered a contender. We just had this conversation with Philip Howard about his new book on public sector unions. And I wonder what, if anything, people in this state, I don't know, 3 Republicans maybe, in this state who understand how devastating public sector union dominance has been to the state. I wonder if what you potentially heard from Philip Howard, the argument he lays out about the general unconstitutionality of public sector unions because the system is rigged and so the contract should be deemed unenforceable. I wonder if you think that's an approach that makes sense and should be explored here, particularly in the wake of Amendment 1.
Well, I think it makes sense. It's kind of hard to pitch anything legal and stuff like that in Illinois with the courts and with the union's power and the government power the way it is. I think the real persuasion is, to me, and again, I don't disagree with what Howard's saying. I think the more persuasive thing is, especially to the center left people who might be seeing the city and the state kind of getting too crazy, right, going too far. They're going to start looking for alternate arguments. And the one that appeals the most to me is that, and I've said it before, is that we've effectively got 2 classes of people, and it doesn't make sense anymore. One class is guaranteed, guaranteed pensions, guaranteed pay by the Constitution. It's guaranteed all kinds of protections, long-term employment contracts, free retiree health care for the most part. So that one class has got that, and the other class doesn't have any such guarantees. It doesn't have any protections. It doesn't have anything, but yet it's forced to pay for the first class. And at some point, that will fall apart. One, because it's becoming so expensive, especially with Amendment 1 powers now. The cost of those government employees will just keep going up, and the ability for the normal people to pay it will get harder and harder. So you'll have more people leave, and it'll fall apart of itself. So, if we just sit around and watch it happen, well, it's going to fail on itself. Or those center left people who are persuadable can come in and say, hey, that's right. We don't want to let that happen. Let's intervene and let's take away some of those powers.
Yeah,
never happened though.
I know. I mean, they just can't connect the dots. They won't address the arguments. I'm with the working man and working woman. I'm with my schools, and so I stand with them. Do you want to pay for these unfunded pension liabilities? No, I don't. Okay, well, square the circle for us. I don't want to. That's basically what you get. So they can't bring themselves to address the underlying financial reality. I'll give you another example of this, and this is not public sector unions, because public sector unions are sort of indicative of a larger failed way of thinking. District 65, School District 65, this is Evanston-Skokie. This is one of the most racist and sexualized school districts in the state. Their superintendent there, Devin Horton, it's CRT and sexualization of children all the time. It's just a big incubator of political activists. That's what the school district is. And there's any number of PowerPoints and examples that we've gone through over the last several years. Devin Horton, some salary raises for senior personnel at District 65. Devin Horton went from $250,000 to $286,000. That's a 15% increase. The executive director of communications for District 65 went from 109 to 123 year over year. That's 12%. Chief financial and operations officer, he went from 195 to 215. That's a little over 18%. You look at the superintendent, assistant superintendent of curriculum, deputy superintendent, assistant superintendent of opportunity and planning, assistant superintendent of study, executive director of comms, assistant superintendent of HR, special assistant to cabinet, school board secretary, executive assistant. All of those are $100,000 plus salaries. Half of them are $200,000 plus salaries. As Devin Horton's approaching $300,000, and you do the net present value on his pension, I'm guessing that's going to be somewhere around $6 or $7 million. And will you get a revolt from District 65 parents, families about these salaries and their implications? No, you won't.
No, and I'm just looking right now as we talk about the mayor's race in Chicago, looking at the CPS. We ran the numbers. My colleague John Klingner ran the numbers, looking at the National Council on Teacher Quality. They summarized 148 largest school districts in the country and compare them. Well, guess who's got the highest first-year bachelor's degree salary? It's CPS, number one in the country out of the 148 largest districts. For first year's master's degree, second in the nation. Maximum with a master's degree, fourth. Highest possible salary, fourth. So, money's not the issue, although that's what you'll hear from all the candidates. You'll hear that, like you said, in Evanston Skokie. It's all we're doing is we're following a path of blowing through all the money. It's going to create more and more tension, and it's hard to get heard because of the obvious. But listen, I think the other alternative we have on being heard is eventually these unions pushing too much on all this sex ed and transgender teaching and all that. I was with a group of moms, and I won't say from which district yet because I want to properly do that. But I visited them at one of their homes, and it's amazing the package they put together of all the filth that comes out of that school district. Things that can be accessed through the school portal and things like that. It was phenomenal. The porn, I was shocked, and they were so well organized and so well documented that they're going to deserve attention for having done great work to expose what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably the only path to a shakeup at this point is the shocking content of the curriculum in so many of these schools. He's Ted Dabrowski.
And that's union power, and that's administration. That's both the power, the administrators and the unions combined.
Right. Ted Dabrowski, president of wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Ted.
You guys have a great day.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
If you'd like information about the many amazing benefits of reverse mortgage loans, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Attention anyone at least 62, those with parents at least 62, family law attorneys and financial planners. Reverse mortgages are amazing loans for experienced homeowners wanting to enhance their monthly cash flow by deferring mortgage payments and accessing their home's equity tax-free to make safety enhancements to their homes and pay for real estate taxes, food, electric, transportation, and in-home elderly care. To inform listeners about this amazing mortgage option for experienced homeowners, Team Hochberg would like to send you a complimentary reverse mortgage informational packet. Let's review. If you're 62, have parents at least 62, family law attorneys, and financial planners, and would like an informational package about all the amazing benefits of reverse mortgages, give me a call at 855-56-DAVID or visit 56david.com, 855-563-2843, or visit our website, 56david.com. Lower LLC, Equal Housing Lender, MLS 1124061.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Why not Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago? The criminals won't like Willie Wilson in the mayor's office. Fighting crime is Willie Wilson's first priority. The city isn't safe. The city streets, the CTA, are not safe. Willie Wilson knows that personally.
My son was murdered. I know the anger, and I know the pain.
Willie Wilson is ready to take on the criminals. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Arrested for letting your kids go to Dunkin' Donuts alone at 8:08.
But now into the newsroom we go on this sunny but chilly day. Here's Mike Scott.
Cook County State's Attorney dropping charges against R. Kelly. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
COVID's not going away, but 2 emergency declarations will. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. By May 11th, when the Biden administration will change COVID policy, Fox's Jill Nato has details.
That means health agencies would treat the disease as endemic, meaning regularly occurring, rather than pandemic. But the Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, is warning cases worldwide have been rising.
In the past 8 weeks, more than 170,000 people have lost their lives to COVID-19.
It's now up to 100 people dead in yesterday's suicide bombing at a mosque in Pakistan that was full of police. 2 more Memphis officers relieved of their duties over the beating of Tyre Nichols that has 5 other ex-cops charged with murder. These other 2 are not charged so far. One isn't named. The other is Preston Hemphill.
He was shown pulling Nichols out of his car and can be heard saying, "I hope they stomp his expletive," in that horrifying body cam footage. Nichols' family calling the news extremely disappointing, adding, "Why is his identity and the role he played in Tyre's death just now coming to light?" Certainly begs the question why the white officer involved in this brutal attack was shielded and protected from the public eye.
Fox's Jackie Ibanez. 3 Memphis Fire Department EMTs have been fired for staying in the truck and not going to treat Nichols. The involuntary manslaughter charges already announced against Alec Baldwin will be filed today in New Mexico. The actor was holding a prop gun supposed to be loaded with blanks on the movie set Rust. It went off and killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Former President Trump is suing Bob Woodward and his publisher for $50 million over the book Rage.
The lawsuit claims then-President Trump agreed to be interviewed in late 2019 through August of 2020, but the copyright was violated when the full audio recordings were released in November of 2022.
That's Fox's Ryan Schmelz. Woodward and the publisher say the former president did agree to be published. America's listening to Fox News.
Skies are mostly clear across the area. 2 above with a wind chill of -6 at 8:02 on AM 560 The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx and her office are dropping charges against R. Kelly. Fox's office charged that singer with aggravated criminal sexual assault and aggravated criminal sexual abuse charges involving 4 victims in 2019.
Due to the extensive sentences that these convictions hold, our office has decided not to continue to expend our limited resources and court time with the indictments that we previously charged Mr. Kelly.
The R&B singer was sentenced to 30 years behind bars federally last June. The DuPage County Board will not seek to censure County Sheriff James Mendrick over comments that he would not enforce Governor Pritzker's new assault weapons ban. Meantime, McHenry County's challenge to Illinois' assault weapons ban is being moved to a federal court at the request of Attorney General Kwame Raoul. Meantime, the Attorney General has filed a counterbrief challenging a judge's decision that ruled pretrial release portions of the Safety Act unconstitutional. In the brief, Raoul argued that abolishing cash bail does not violate the state's constitution.
The evidence is such, or the law is such, that I would have to concede unconstitutionality. Would have to do so. I don't believe that's the case here, and so we're going to vigorously defend the lawsuits.
Oral arguments are scheduled to be held before the Illinois Supreme Court in March. The news is service of the Salem Podcast Network. Hear the latest podcast episodes from Charlie Kirk, Todd Starnes, Trish Regan, and many more. Subscribe free at salempodcastnetwork.com. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
General Motors easily topped Wall Street predictions for its holiday quarter, and GM is optimistic about this year. It also revealed that it will work with Lithium Americas Corp to jointly develop a lithium mine in Nevada. ExxonMobil reported a record year. Caterpillar's quarter was mixed. Home builder Pulte Group reported higher earnings, though higher mortgage rates and cancellations weighed on its orders. Victoria's Secret had a better-than-expected holiday season during what it's calling a challenging economic environment for its customers. Human resources software company Workday is laying off 3% of its staff. It's part of a business realignment. The company says the downsizing is not the result of overhiring. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosolda, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum says we've gone too far.
In my opinion, it makes sense that we all are treated equal. And that means that if you want to be a man with another man, that's fine. That's your life. Do you, boo, is what I'd say. But why do you have to force other people to adhere to your own personal beliefs? I believe that it's going too far.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule. Changing the world, one life at a time.
Well, I drive a truck for a living. I don't get hardly any exercise. I'm not kidding you now. I'm not easily sold on anything, but I'm a firm believer in this product. You know, I watched those advertisements for 2 or 3 years and listened to the radio going down the road, and I said, something's got to be going on with that product for that many people to do ads for them. And I'll tell you what, I just uptown a while ago, I told some of my buddies, I said, I'm not BSing you, man. I'm not kidding you. It's amazing. It totally amazes me.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Chicago.
Are you growing your manufacturing team this year and need new employees? Turn to Monarch Technical Services. They've been leading the Chicago staffing industry for manufacturing and engineering since 1987. You'll appreciate their vetting process. They meet every candidate in person to interview and test for specific skills. Monarch assesses experience by using blueprint, shop math, part measurement, and CNC program exams. Their quality skills assessor was once a plant manager who worked on manufacturing equipment, so he recognizes who has the skills to fit each job requirement. Monarch Technical now offers a 30-day free trial with any day one direct hire. This allows you to make sure direct hire employees are fitting in before fees are paid. And they have a unique payment option which allows the finder's fee to be paid in 6 equal monthly payments. So if you're growing your manufacturing team this year and searching for exceptional talent, contact Monarch Technical Services at 847-342-1221. That's 847-342-1221 or online at monarchtechnical.com. That's monarchtechnical.com.
Inflation is nothing more than a legal form of theft, because with every new round of money printing, the value of your 401k or IRA is decreased through the dilution of the money supply. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and while you still can, I highly recommend you consider physical gold for your retirement account. Why? Because gold provides real wealth preservation that can withstand anything. Even better, with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group, you pay no penalties or taxes when you transfer your current retirement funds. To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898. And my friends from Birch Gold Group will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold is the only gold IRA company I trust. So text PROTECT to 989898 to request your free info kit on gold IRAs right now.
8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And a very tough sled on the inbound Edens right now. 43 minutes from Lake Cook Road into the junction. It's an hour and 15 inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike is about an hour from 390 to the old post office. Stevenson at 52 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. It's about a half hour, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange on the inbound Dan Ryan. Veterans Memorial Toll jams up northbound between 63rd and the I-88 Reagan interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Mostly sunny, frigid day. High today only 13. It'll be clear and frigid tonight with a low at 4. Sun followed by clouds tomorrow, a high at 28. Sunshine, not as cold on Thursday, high Thursday 31. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
2 above at O'Hare. Next news 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
This hourly segment is brought to you by On Target Radio. From firearms and Second Amendment rights to personal freedoms and government intrusions. Listen here Sunday nights at 9.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The intellectual schizophrenia of the left. So interesting. On the one hand, they cheerlead or turn a blind eye to the sexualization of children in K through 12 with respect to books and curriculum and the gender politics in front of the classroom as expressed through teachers. Even the systemic sexual abuse of kids in systems like CPS.
472 cases of groping, sexual abuse, even sexual assault. And crickets from the mainstream media. Never heard this story ever.
Mutilation of kids. All for it.
Hiding your pronouns from your parents.
All for it, or it's none of my business. But when it comes to taking your daughter, taking the family dog around the block for a walk, everybody calls 911. This happened a couple years ago in Wilmette.
Oh, I remember it well.
So on the one hand, we're going to treat pre-adolescents as adults and let them make the calls, no questions asked. We're going to, I don't know, participate or turn a blind eye to the grooming of children or the straight-up sexual exploitation. We're going to call pedophiles minor attracted persons. On the other hand, if you send your kids to Dunkin' Donuts down the block unsupervised, they want a tactical unit to respond. Parents arrested, kids taken away. Lenore Skenazy brings these stories to us routinely, reading over at Reason Magazine. Connecticut parents arrested for letting kids ages 7 and 9 walk to Dunkin' Donuts. This was 3 years ago. Super Bowl Sunday in February of 2019 in Killingly, Connecticut. The Rivers family, name changed to protect their reputation. The Rivers family lived near an elementary school, library, state police barracks. There were sidewalks, crosswalks, many Victorian-style homes, and Dunkin' Donuts. The kids wanted to go to Dunkin' Donuts for a long-promised treat for cleaning their rooms. So they gathered up $7. That's when you could get something at Dunkin' Donuts for $7. And off they went. A few minutes later, the police knock on their door. The first cop, the mom says, the first cop showed up, said he didn't think it was safe for the kids to walk by themselves. We told them while we did feel it was safe, we agreed not to allow them walk around town unsupervised. We thought that would have been the end of it until 3 more cops showed up.
Oh, my goodness.
The first cop sent her husband to retrieve the kids, who only made it about 2 blocks before, the neighborhood was up in arms and
beep boo, beep boo.
Right,
Sirens
exactly.
blazing.
Yeah, and SWAT team was called. They told us it wasn't safe for our kids to walk down the street, that there are registered sex offenders all over town that could take them, that drug dealers are going to give them drugs. That was a different world now. According to the police report, which was reviewed by Reason Magazine, the police were obsessed with the possibility of sex offenders harming the children. Officers claim they received a dozen 911 calls about the kids during the short time they were gone. They went 2 blocks. Mom
Stop
thought.
being a nosy neighbor.
Well,
Dear
also,
God.
Mom thought this was unlikely as they only made it past 4 other homes on the block.
Oh, yeah.
But they got 12 calls.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
The officers proceeded to charge her husband with risk of injury to a minor. They charged her separately for the same thing. They arrested her husband and took him away. Mom says, I tried to convince the officers we weren't doing anything wrong. This was obviously futile, but I had to try. Then I went back inside to help with the kids. I found out later from my husband that after I went inside, the arresting officer said to him, if she talks to me again, I'm going to arrest you both and take away your kids. He gets processed, goes back home. They began searching for a lawyer. A few days later, police sergeant visits the house and lets the Riverses know that they're dropping the charges, admitting the law concerning child negligence was open to interpretation on the issue of letting kids walk by themselves. And they thought, okay, well, that's over. But, of course, it wasn't.
Didn't want to take the case. Oh, no, it's not over yet.
The police charges went away, but the Department of Children and Families pursued its own investigation. Yeah. Okay. DCFS caseworker visited the family twice, interviewed everyone about their complete history. She was looking for problems, says Mom.
Oh, yeah, you better make sure that house is in tip-top shape. You have pictures of the kids out. You have no cigarettes, no booze, nothing nefarious. That they could say, oh, I think they might be drinking.
Well, right. An example of that is Mom tried to explain to the caseworker the police had overreacted, but the caseworker maintained the parents had somehow jeopardized their kids' safety. When Mom revealed she had received therapy for depression some years earlier, the caseworker weaponized this information and insisted Mom return to therapy.
Oh, my God. Everybody goes through therapy at some point in time. I mean, it's not uncommon.
Not everybody.
Well, it doesn't mean you're a bad mom.
I agree.
We know you haven't gone to therapy yet, but we're still trying.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, Department of Children and Families closed the case.
Okay.
The impact was that Mom waited 3 years until her daughter turned 12 to let her go for another unsupervised walk. Mm-hmm.
Something what the mom said really resonates with a lot of people. I've never felt threatened by a single person in this town until meeting those officers and the social worker.
Yeah, I go walking, jogging all around the town by myself, all hours of the day and night, met and talked to many local people, and this was the first time I felt threatened or unsafe living in our leafy suburban community. But I just, so there, on the one hand, there's this busybodyism and protect the children and let the children be children, actually infantilize them and infantilize the adults along with it. On the other hand, it's let's start rearranging the body parts of 6-year-olds if they say so. How do you square the mentality that would simultaneously support both of those things? The criminalization of letting kids be kids. Oh my gosh, when I was growing up
What'd you do?
in a leafy suburb called Wheaton, I mean, the idea that we couldn't go a few blocks as kids, right, walking or riding our bikes to
we rode our bikes miles to river trails to go to the pool.
To get ice cream or to go, to get something to eat or to go to the pool, whatever. I mean, it's completely foreign. And what, there weren't bad people around when we were kids? Yeah, I get it that things have deteriorated in so many ways and so on and so forth. But, I mean, who's in the best position to make those judgment calls when it's obvious these are otherwise responsible, caring parents? And then police come in and they come over the top with "don't sass me" or "I'm going to arrest you," which they did. "I'm going to take your kids." And talk about police brutality of a different sort. Totally out of bounds.
312. Sorry.
It's really tiresome. These stories that we bring up on occasion are more numerous than I think we'd otherwise like to believe.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also reach us at 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
They should have gotten a lawyer and pursued a civil claim against the police department and against the state agency, as far as I'm concerned. It's the only way to hold them accountable. I mean, I was riding my bike.
To where? Think about it.
It's 2 miles, 2.5 miles to go to work when I was 11 years old. Caddying. I rode my bike to Chicago Golf Club to caddy. I'm sure I passed some homes that had a registered sex offender. Maybe not back in that day, as it wasn't quite as the systems weren't as quite as sophisticated. The laws weren't quite as stringent. But you get the point. But it's the juxtaposition that astounds me. What the community allows to happen in the schools right now, and then those same communities are up in arms when 2 kids are going to get a donut down the block.
With $7 in their pocket, yeah.
Frank, Tinley Park, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It wasn't a donut. The father said something to the policeman. Rodney King, he said something. If you run from the police, that's the worst thing you could do. This latest incident, that's what happened. The guy ran from the police.
What are we talking about, running from the police? He showed up at their front door. What are you talking about?
Right. He said that he thinks something is wrong, and the father laughed at him. And
so what?
He just...
So what? So that justifies the police arresting him? That's not. So I arrest you if you disagree with me, rather than on the merits of whether or not you've committed a crime? I don't think so.
I agree with you. The cop is wrong, but you got to walk on eggshells. You can't say nothing or run from them.
Your children.
Well, saying something and resisting arrest are two different things.
Unfortunately, you have to be nice to them.
Well, thanks for the call. But that's certainly not what I see in Chicago when I see young people twerking on their squad cars, for God's sakes. Do they get arrested? No. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing that's congruent about any of this. About policing, about the application of law, about children's safety. It's a paradox. Or it's like layers of paradoxes. Does anybody think through this stuff? And by the way, I'm pretty pro law enforcement. I think I've established that on this show over the last 8 years.
Yes, you have.
I mean, but the idea that a cop is going to come into my home or your home or this family's home in Killings and say, you shouldn't do that. I say, I hear what you're saying. We won't do that again, but it's safe. We contemplated the safety of our kids. You're not the only one concerned about the safety of our kids. We think it's safe. You disagree? Okay, fine. So we won't let them walk unsupervised. That's the end of it. And that's the end of it. An arrest? No way. Referring it to Department of Children and Families? No way. Way over the top.
It's a waste of resources.
So you're protecting kids by traumatizing the whole family. Another paradox. Greg LaGrange.
Hey, how you doing? I would put my boot on their neck of the Stasi wannabes and sue them civilly, and also go against charge that DHFS or whatever state-run agency that is too, because this is all a conditioning exercise. Dan, I was just like you. Our neighborhood was a little bit rougher than yours, I'm sure, and our parents let us walk around. We stayed out all night, and I turned out okay, I think. I'm a classical liberal. I'm pretty cool about that. But these people have to be put down, and you have to, when you have them down in a position where they're in a vulnerable position, you have to go after them and punish them. The thing is, the state wants to condition you. They want to condition you with law enforcement. They want to condition your kids in school. That's not a paradox. That's by design. They want total breaking you down in making your own individual decisions. They don't want you to be an individual anymore. They want you to run like clockwork according to what the state says.
Thanks, Greg. John, Villa Park.
Hey, good morning. I grew up at Sunnyside and Spalding, and I used to get walked to school, but I would run all the way home as like a second and third grader, and I was short too. I was little, cross a couple streets, and run all the way home for lunch, go right back to school, and then come back with, the kids from upstairs. But before we left there, and I'm all for parents. They should be able to do what they want with their kids. If they want to let them, go down the street like these parents were, by all means. But, man, I almost got nabbed when I was a kid before we left that neighborhood, and I think that's why we left when we went to Portage Park. And I live in Villa Park now, and I just don't let my kids walk around because I'm just paranoid about that stuff. But for a cop to say that to somebody, there's no way the cop should say, I'm going to arrest your butt too. Because you know what? Sometimes you got to get arrested. If that's how a cop's going to operate, screw that. Thanks.
Well, they did arrest him, and they took him away in handcuffs.
Yeah, well, he's saying that you do something that actually deserved getting arrested.
Right, not that.
Ralph and Rantoul.
Hey, good morning. What I think the common thread here is, especially on the left, is that it ties it together, is that children are just tools to be used. So if they need to be used in order to advance your perverse morals and programs, then fine. Or if children need to be used as a cudgel against authority, parental authority, then that's fine too. The operative thing in there is that the kids aren't yours. It's the liberal society wants to let everybody know that they're taking the kids. The kids are going to be used. That's why we're going to have to fight it everywhere, all the time.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. Yeah, and it's also using the state's favorite tool, which is fear. You go against what we're doing in the school, don't know what's going to happen to your kid and his grades.
Yep.
You go against police and our interpretation of child negligence, and we'll arrest you and take your kids. Tim in Lakewood.
Yeah, Dan, we're going against it. We're Americans. We fight back. We don't take any of that. My kids live a life of luxury. When we let them go run around, they got their gizmo watches on. We can call them. We can track them. There's no problem. If a cop came over and tried to take our kids, we're holding court in the street right there. It'll be over my dead body. They're taking my kids from me.
They might take you away.
Well,
like they did that dad.
It's you have to make a stand. I mean, that dad made a reasonable stand. I mean, I'm not advocating confrontation with police, obviously, but this is the point. This is why I say after he was arrested, there's a forum for dispute resolution on this, and it's a court of law. And that family in Connecticut, I don't know if they did or they didn't, but they should have filed a civil suit against the police department and that state agency, if for nothing else than to indicate that people are willing to fight and hold you accountable and make this public so people know. Because, a lot of these police, particularly in suburban communities, they live in those suburban communities.
Oh, right. They all know each other. Their kids
they have
play together. They're on the same teams.
They have reputations and concerns about public standing, too. And, and sometimes it takes that sort of responsible legal pushback. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
We all want to eat healthy, but have you ever read the ingredients list off of your favorite snack? Between the hard-to-pronounce ingredients and man-made additives, it's difficult to find anything made from real, natural ingredients. Even some of my favorite organic snacks have ingredients I haven't heard of. At Balance of Nature, we know the value of real nutrition that can only be found in real food. That's why the only things you'll find on our ingredients list are real whole fruits and vegetables. No additives, fillers, or artificial ingredients of any kind. Balance of Nature is the best whole fruit and vegetable product on the market, delivering your body everything it needs to function at its very best. Eat better and feel better. Start your journey to better health. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get free shipping. And don't forget to get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code Chicago.
Amy, you remember Sopranos?
Yes, I do.
So just on the therapy issue, me in therapy would be somewhat like Tony Soprano in therapy. So you can picture what that would be like.
Yeah.
A lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and be sure to go to a provider you can trust. I recommend my friends at Low T Center. It's where I get my levels checked for the past 8 years. Low T Center exclusively specializes in men's wellness. They check all your levels, not just your testosterone, and determine the cause of any symptoms you're having, and whether you're a candidate for low T or something else like low thyroid or sleep apnea. Typically, their annual health assessment is completely covered by health insurance, and they check everything, including PSA, your prostate levels, as well as thyroid, liver and kidney function, cholesterol, glucose levels, and more. Low T Center has affordable and convenient options for treatment, including monitored self-inject treatment that ships directly to you each month, so no need to come to the center each week. Make your health a priority this new year and schedule your annual health assessment at Low T Center today. It's covered by most health insurance or less than $100 cash pay. Visit lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Prof sent you when you do. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-333-1750. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-333-1750. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-333-1750. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-333-1750. 800-333-1750.
Hey, it's Dan Proft. You know I like to speak the truth and offer solutions. Well, if you have high blood pressure or know someone who does, I have the answer for you. I'm going to tell you about my friends at 120 Life. 120 Life, they're a Chicago company that developed a juice drink that helps lower your blood pressure naturally, or in my case, helps me keep my blood pressure in check. 120 Life, it's a natural juice drink you drink every day without the side effects of pills. I'm drinking it, I love it, and you will too. It keeps me energized, it keeps my blood pressure in check. The truth is, there are easy, natural ways to keep your blood pressure in check, and one of them is 120 Life. Check it out and tell them Dan Prof sent you. Visit 120life.com. That's 120life.com. You can order a 2-week trial pack of their juice drink. There's a money-back guarantee, and you can use the coupon code DAN to save 10%. The natural answer to high blood pressure. Visit 120life.com today and start lowering your blood pressure in just 2 weeks.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk to two leaders of an organization called Opportunity Education who make the argument that AI, artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT, can save education from itself. That's at 8:38.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
8:32. Skies are mostly clear. We still see a few clouds crossing the area. 2 above. At 8:32, charges are set to be filed today against Alec Baldwin for his role in the shooting on the set of Rust in New Mexico. 3 Memphis EMTs are being fired over the death of Tyree Nichols. Memphis Fire says the first responders violated multiple department policies when they were at the scene earlier this month. The Biden administration set to end 2 emergencies related to the COVID-19 pandemic, but not until May 11. Both the national emergency and the public health emergency will come to a close. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox's office is dropping charges against R. Kelly.
Due to the extensive sentences that these convictions hold, our office has decided not to continue to expend our limited resources and court time with the indictments that we previously charged Mr. Kelly.
The R&B singer was sentenced to 30 years behind bars last June on federal charges. Concession food and beverage workers at the United Center are expected to vote on whether to strike. Food service provider Levy and the union are currently negotiating. And Cindy Williams, the actress who played in this show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
She played Shirley. Half of the Laverne and Shirley show has passed away. Williams gained fame in that sitcom and was at the top of the ratings in the mid-'70s to early 1980s. She starred opposite Penny Marshall, who died in 2018. Now, the one movie role she regrets not pressing harder to get? George Lucas had her read for the role of Princess Leia in his first Star Wars movie. You may recall, Lucas directed Williams in American Graffiti in 1973. Bulls take on the Clippers tonight. Fighting Illini take on Nebraska in Big Ten hoops, while Northwestern will battle Iowa at Carver Hawkeye. The news, a service of the Daybreak Insider podcast, an analysis of the day's most important stories each weekday morning on the Daybreak Insider podcast. 8:34 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher isn't sure people are serious.
The City of San Francisco's Reparations Committee, they have determined that every black person who qualifies should get a lump sum payment of $5 million apiece. Do you think adults who come up with such garbage are serious?
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Have you been lied to? Lied to by politicians and the Wall Street propaganda machine? Hi, this is best-selling author Navy Dowdy from right here in the Chicago area, and I want to give you a free copy of my new book, Crash Proof Wealth. Because according to Time magazine, Wall Street's retirement plans and 401ks have failed millions of Americans. After seeing the last market crash over 39%, I said enough. I've discovered a way to grow money potentially double digits, reduce taxes dramatically, and also have my money protected when the next stock market crash hits. When the next market crash hits, you lose nothing. Call Navy Dowdy & Associates now to get a free copy of my book and talk to me personally to discover this little-known strategy to get potential double-digit growth during good years and never lose when the next stock market crash hits. And I'll even cover shipping and handling. No credit card required. Call 1-800-392-9595. 1-800-392-9595. Again, 1-800-392-9595.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Well, I drive a truck for a living. I don't get hardly any exercise. I'm not kidding you now. I'm not easily sold on anything, but I'm a firm believer in this product. You know, I watched those advertisements for 2 or 3 years and listened to the radio going down the road, and I said, something's got to be going on with that product for that many people to do ads for them. And I'll tell you what, I just uptown a while ago, I told some of my buddies, I said, I'm not BSing you, man. I'm not kidding you. It's amazing. It totally amazes me.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code CHICAGO.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago. The violence in Chicago must stop. Willie Wilson pledges real action to do that. A revised police structure, 4 superintendents, more accessible to their neighborhoods, providing faster communication and concentration of resources. Willie Wilson pledges more integrated police patrols to increase community, confidence, and cooperation. Willie Wilson's pledge will make Chicago safer. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
At Inspired Closets Chicago, there's no place they can't transform. Life is busy, and an organized space helps calm the chaos and bring order to your family's daily grind. Inspired Closets Chicago takes care of everything from start to finish. From your free in-home design consultation to developing your 3D design through installation, Inspired Closets Chicago makes it easy so you can enjoy the process. Learn more at inspiredclosetchicago.com or visit one of their showrooms for inspiration. Proud sponsor of Food for the Poor.
During the pandemic, they closed our churches down.
Suicide rates are exploding. Drug and alcohol use is ravaging America, and there's no church to bring the hope.
See the new documentary, Super Spreader, how a stand against religious tyranny brought hope to a country in crisis.
Christian singer and activist Sean Foyt leading what's called Let Us Worship.
Here's a move of God that's going to change America.
Watch Super Spreader, available now at salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
It's time to tee it up once again for the Tinley Park Golf Show from February 3rd to February 5th at the Tinley Park Convention Center. Come out for a driving range demo area with manufacturer representatives from Callaway, Wilson, Tour Edge, Cleveland, Cobra, and Mizuno. After browsing aisles of newly released equipment and apparel from the top retailers of the Chicago area, compete in skill challenges and enjoy a live telecast of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am at the famous Local 1 Bar and Lounge. The 2023 Golf Show is honored to bring back the Western Golf Association and BMW Championship as this year's sponsors. Tickets are just $10 for Friday's show and $15 each for Saturday and Sunday. Get them now at Eventbrite.com. Come take a swing and experience the best golf show in Chicagoland. The Tinley Park Golf Show from February 3rd to February 5th at the Tinley Park Convention Center.
And don't forget to stop by Local 1 for the famous All-American Burger, the best burger in Chicago.
It's 8:40. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and this update is a service of Indeed.com. Hiring can be a headache. That's why there's Indeed, the hiring platform that removes the hassle. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates. And you can schedule and conduct video interviews right on their site. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Aurora, Eola north and southbound remain closed due to a much earlier accident that resulted in a critical injury after the car rolled into a pond this morning. Metra BNS service inbound to Union Station disrupted in Downers Grove with a stalled train there, and it is blocking Washington Street in downtown Downers Grove. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, stop-and-go traffic northbound between Irving Park and Montrose due to an accident. Bishop Ford and I-57 jamming into the Ryan merge, and the Ryan itself is at 23 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunny, still frigid today with a high of 13 and a low of 4 overnight. 3 above at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We're trying to wrap our minds around ChatGPT and the coming AI revolution, like so many, and trying to help you do the same by talking to experts in the field. Remember, we talked to, in talking to one wag from Wired Magazine last week, we referenced another's observation, prediction, that 90% of online content will be AI generated by 2025.
Wow.
If that's true, that's how quickly things are changing. Even if it's not true, it's an indication of the expectation as to how quickly things will change. There's an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal I found interesting, co-authored by Joe Ricketts, of course, Mr. Ameritrade, and the Ricketts family owns the Chicago Cubs. You know Joe Ricketts and the family.
Yes, we do.
But this is Joe Ricketts as a philanthropist, reformer, which he does a bit of. About 20 years ago, he created an organization called Opportunity Education to rethink how we do education. And in his op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, he and executive at the organization he founded, Opportunity Education, Ray Ravalia, argue that while people are concerned about ChatGPT threatening education because of the ability to plagiarize, cheat, actually AI has possesses the prospect to revolutionize education in a positive way and get kids more advanced with respect to their reasoning, critical thinking, argumentation skills than they are in the John Dewey system with which we're still saddled in so many respects. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Ray Ravalia. He's the Chief Learning Officer at Opportunity Education. And Manuel Matkey is the president and COO of Opportunity Education. Ray, Manuel, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
No, it's a pleasure, Dan.
Thanks for having us.
So this is a jump ball here, whoever wants to take it, but just give us sort of the broad argument in favor of ChatGPT and other AI innovations when it comes to primarily primary education, K through 8 and into high school.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one there, Dan. I think the key thing that ChatGPT does for us is it shows the weakness of any system of education that is just based on giving people information, because information is increasingly the sort of thing we can just ask the computer for and it will serve it up. What people need to learn how to do is use that information and to use the AI tools as tools. So it's not just having an answer to a question, it's knowing which question to ask and then what to do with that answer when it comes back. If we have more answers flowing in, then it's going to be important for students to know how to take that information and make sense of it, shape it, build arguments, reason with it, and so forth. And I think that is really going to be the fundamental turn here, is to stop acquiring information and start actually learning how to do things with information.
What's the it's just like, let's get baseline here, because it's a ChatGPT is described as like a sophisticated autocomplete, but obviously it's much more than that, and the potential is much more than that. So what does ChatGPT do that Google searches don't in terms of quickly accessing information and then having to formulate arguments or context around it?
Well, the big difference between ChatGPT and Google, which is also why Google and other companies like that are terrified of it, is that Google will give you, 9 million responses to a question, and you have to still click links, you still have to figure out what to do with it. ChatGPT, when you ask a question, it will actually write you a response that could be an essay if you ask that kind of a prompt, or just collect information but give you one singular and authoritative response. It may not always be accurate, but in all my playing with it, it's pretty darn good. And it's probably as good as any average person will give if it has the background information and has been trained on it.
Well, we know the two largest public school districts, New York and Los Angeles, have banned the chat box from their devices, but how can you stop kids from circumventing that system and using it?
Well, I don't think you can, and I think that natural curiosity shouldn't be repressed. It should be encouraged. And letting kids know that it's there and what it can be used for, and then getting them to use it productively is really going to be the challenge for educators.
Well, so one of the other issues, though, is bias, and there was a guy who did a good tweet on this. He asked ChatGPT to formulate two answers to two questions. One was, describe a debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump where Joe Biden is the victor. And it had this long detailed, how Joe Biden was superior in his presentation of the evidence. And then it had describe a situation in which Donald Trump and Joe Biden debate and Donald Trump is the winner. And it gave this, it basically punted it. It said, well, we can't exactly come up with a scenario in which this would possibly. So, I mean, so there's the who, what's the intelligence that shapes the artificial intelligence question.
And it really is just a content question, and I suspect that more and more bots like that will get trained on very specific topics and will, quote, become experts, if you will, on those topics. But clearly, this is just a matter of the machine ingesting information, processing it, and then having the ability to formulate sort of complete sentence responses as opposed to giving you a list of results. So ChatGPT and any similar generative AI is entirely dependent on whatever body of information it's ingested and learned from, and is, as a result, beholden to its creators. And that gets back to Ray's point, is that today we use spreadsheets all the time and calculators. Nobody's worried about needing to ban calculators in schools because they somehow automate some function of work. And I think the same is true with any kind of writing or even analytical work. And the key here is students need to start switching away from the grind work of producing things that you can send home as homework, where you don't have to worry about it as a teacher, they just have to somehow produce it, and instead have to shift more in the direction of analyzing, interpreting, establishing meaning of what things are, and doing the work that will shape what the robots and what the AIs actually can produce and how they produce it, rather than replicating that.
So I like that. I like that prospect, but I just, on this bias question, I mean, it seems to me then we're back to the same sort of argument we've been having over Twitter and Google and Facebook for the last several years, is show us your algorithms. So with ChatGPT, it's going to like show us the body of information that provides the basis for the machine learning. So is it, if you're just, we only look at news reports from, the top 5 quote unquote news networks and these daily newspapers, well, that's a very limited universe of information, and people need to know that it's pulling from very incomplete sources that have a shared perspective on so many issues.
I would totally agree with that.
Yeah, I think too that we'll see things like, if there's strong bias on one side of the spectrum, there will inevitably be somebody producing a chatbot that's been trained up on, more right-leaning stuff than left-leaning stuff, and you'll have your Fox bot versus your MSNBC bot. And I think what will happen eventually is the opportunity for these, more sophisticated emerging systems that might produce several different answers from several different bots, and then it comes down to training the students on how to sift through stuff and to understand that no matter what you get, even if it's from the robotic oracle, is still something that is ultimately grounded in human perspectives, which are going to be inherently biased, and that working towards truth takes real effort.
Yeah, right. No, that's a fair point. You mentioned Google, and while Google's terrified of this, Paul Buchheit, who is the creator of Gmail, tweeted, Google may be only a year or two away from total disruption. AI will eliminate the search engine result page, which is where Google makes most of its money. Even if they catch up on AI, they can't fully deploy it without destroying the most valuable part of their business. I mean, talk about the gales of creative destruction here. The prospect that a juggernaut like Google could be disrupted or worse by ChatGPT and other AI, that's sort of remarkable. Do you agree with that prospect?
Yeah, I do, because search results are pretty clumsy, and Google itself replaced other search engines that seemed even clumsier before, and the fact that they could index everything, but now indexing isn't that big of a deal anymore. It's really the question of how do you get answers. It does amplify the concern that you raised, Dan, which is if you don't know what the sources are behind that, because you're not choosing from a long list of results like you do in Google, that the opportunity and the risk of significant bias is as extreme as it is in all of our search bubbles on Facebook or Twitter, whatever we're looking at. So finding ways to make that more transparent is going to be key for all that stuff to work.
So, I mean, then this it just goes back to, if you're doing a paper on competing philosophies, and it's say it's capitalism versus Marxism, and so on the one hand you have the Marx Engels reader as source material, on the other hand you have Milton Friedman's Free to Choose as source material, just to use two examples. Then does ChatGPT present capitalists argue for this way of organizing an economy and a society based on this, and cites Milton Friedman, and a Marxist would argue this and cites the Marx Engels reader, and then you have students working through to identify other sources, try to understand the arguments, distill them. Is that sort of your vision of how this improves education, reasoning, critical thinking?
I think that's an excellent example. I think getting the material out in front of the students more quickly so that they can look at it, source it, and then build on top of it is going to get them to a better place. I think that having a sort of educationally tweaked chatbot that does clearly specify sources and citations so that students have a place to build from certainly works. I think the other thing, too, is if I'm a teacher and I've had the same essay prompt that I've used for the last 20 years, And now my students are just handing that to ChatGPT and it's writing the essay for them. I may need to actually shift my game and start saying, okay, look, I need everybody to give me a draft where you outline the points you're going to make. Okay, now I need everybody to give me an essay. Now we're going to go through and work on the revision process. And so we move away from just producing an essay to actually working on the whole skill of organizing information, generating information, revising information, and getting something that is maximally persuasive. And that's not something you can just hand back to the AI at each stage. That's something that the students are actually going to have to do the work on.
Yeah, that does sound more
And so-
robust, doesn't it? Yeah.
And go back to the Google analogy, Dan, right? They're terrified. School districts are terrified because, like Ray says, it's going to challenge them fundamentally to rethink what their work actually is. And I think they prefer not to do that, honestly, because it's going to shift what teachers need to do. It shifts how teachers are trained. It shifts how we evaluate performance by students. And that kind of a disruption, I think, is going to challenge them very significantly to figure out what education means in the sort of ChatGPT or post-ChatGPT world.
Yeah, I got to say, I'm intrigued by anything that would disrupt how we do K through 12 education at present. So, and if it makes teachers unions and big school districts nervous, that's probably a good indication that we're over the target. Ray Ravalia, Chief Learning Officer at Opportunity Education, Manuel Matke, President and COO of Opportunity Education. Gentlemen, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Amy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And they both joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Start your new year off right by finally losing that weight. Schedule your consultation with NJ Diet today. Their scientific approach will ensure that you lose the fat quickly and safely. NJ Diet uses your hair and saliva samples, along with their bioenergetic scans, to personalize natural solutions and supplements that balance your hormones, where the side effect is weight loss. You'll shed a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days. Then NJ Diet uses DNA testing to help you keep it off. NJ Diet is all natural, no shots, no hormones, no surgery, and no prepackaged foods. Full supervision is provided every step of the way, and you even get the doctor's personal email and phone number. With locations in Skokie and Oak Brook, or from anywhere with live online video consultations, lose 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days, guaranteed. Call 855-5NJ-DIET. That's 855-5NJ-DIET, or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com, and lose the weight for good.
Cold floors? The problem is probably down below in the basement or crawl space. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer with Permaseal. I'm happy to say that we can now help make your basement and crawl space warmer, and therefore your upstairs more comfortable, with our new product, PermaFoam. We spray this insulating foam between your floor joists, which will not only increase your energy efficiency, but will also deter insects, rodents, and is mold and mildew resistant. PermaFoam can be installed in just one day and is twice as effective as the old-fashioned fiberglass bats. For over 40 years, homeowners in Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana have trusted Permaseal to make their homes healthier and more valuable. Call a contractor you can rely on. Permaseal. 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-7325. Or visit permaseal.net.
Known best for being better, Permaseal.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, Dan, I have a proud mom moment to share with you.
All right.
Got an email from a former student at Blaine. His name is Ezra, and he faces some challenges, but he's a great kid, and he, lost contact with Andrew, my oldest son, because they went to, everyone goes to different high schools. But I got an email from his mom saying, "Hi, Amy, Ezra's featured in an event as a composer, and his piece is going to be played by 2 professional musicians, and his piece was inspired and named for your son, Andrew. It's called Andrew's Theme. He told me that Andrew treated him with respect, that he was funny and smart, and that he misses him." And I went to the event last night at Artifacts on Ravenswood, and it's played by a flutist and a pianist. then this is the end, the finale, the last 25 seconds of it. What do you think, Dan?
I think you've got a budding Beethoven on your hand there with Ezra. Very, very good. That's nice.
And he's been chosen to write music for Carnegie Hall composer Xavier Foley this spring, so good things ahead for him. It's now 9 a.m., WIND Chicago.
He keeps working on the railroad. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Biden is famous for taking Amtrak for years as a senator. Leaves for New York City this hour to again tout the infrastructure law funding